Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and get some incredible motivation from the one and only Lisa Nichols. Enjoy.
I was hungry. I was hungry. People often want to call me the exception. Like, oh my God, you're the exception. No, I'm not the exception. I'm an average, ordinary woman who chose every day to make one more extraordinary decision. I'm an average, ordinary mom who said, I want to drastically transform my son's future. That he deserves to have every option that every other child would have, irregardless of what he was born into. I just was crazy enough to believe that. That it doesn't matter the color of my skin, doesn't matter my religious background, doesn't matter my origin, it doesn't matter my mom's bank account and my dad's bank account when I was born. None of that means my future. That's just the circumstance that I came from. That's not what defines my future. I just believe that. Not a lot validated it, but faith is believing in the unseen anyway. So I had enough faith to go, I know like I know like I know like I know. I don't necessarily have to see it yet.
Christy talked about affirmations. Abundant thinkers understand the power of I am. Anything after the word I am is true to your unconscious mind, Michael. Anything. Anything after I am. Anything. Anything after I am. Even if you know it's not true, your conscious mind will believe it. Anything after I am. So the use of affirmations is very intentional and very consistent. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed in 2001. 1998, I'm sorry. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed. It didn't make sense. I had been in a relationship, I was engaged to get married, and my fiance, who I did not know at the time, was bipolar. And he'd stopped taking his medicines and under the belief system that love can cure anything. And so I ended up being picked up and thrown 3 feet across the room. And I ended up being choked until I passed out. And once I got out of that relationship, I just was different. It was different. So my mom insisted that I go to the doctor. I went to the doctor, and I sat on the table, and she checked me and talked to me and came back in with a prescription. And she said, Lisa, you're clinically depressed. And I felt like I heard Charlie Brown's parents talking like, wah, wah. Want. Clinically depressed, at least that'll make sense in that same sentence. And she handed me a prescription, and I read the prescription. It had my name on it, and it said Prozac. And I thought, that don't make sense. Lisa Nichols, that don't make sense. And I said, do you mean I'm sad? She said, very, very sad. I said, can I try something? And I'm not recommending you guys, if you're on medication, you stop taking your meds. Please don't do that. I asked my doctor. She agreed. I said, do you mind if I try something before I take this? She goes, yes, but I need to see you back in 30 days. If you're in the same condition, I need us to try this medicine. I said, okay, I could do that. So I went home, and every day I got in the mirror, and I drilled, I am, every day. Because I realized I had forgotten who I was. Yes. I just forgot. And it was okay to forget. I just forgot. So every day for 25 minutes, I just went over the I ams. Every day, I am. And then I paralleled that with I forgive you for. Then I paralleled that with I commit to you, Lisa. Every single day. I went back in 30 days, and I'm talking to her, and I'm on fire. She's just looking at me. And I'm just talking. She twisted her head again, and I'm just talking. She says, wait, I got to stop you. I said, what? She goes, what are you taking, and can I have some? I was like, I'm taking some of me. And so the power of I am can pull you through the darkest moment, the power of I am.
When you want to learn how to trust your intuition more, I say, and this is me and my walk and my belief system, that your intuition is your internal GPS system, your internal God placement system. It's that whisper, and sometimes it's that scream that tells you to leap or to be still. Your intuition is a combination of spirit, emotion, and logic. And it's guiding you. And so often we don't hear our intuition. Why don't we hear it? Because we're having too much chatter in our head. Like the chatter in our head, doubt, worry, judgment. Oh my God, judgment or fear of other people's perception of you. So your intuition is saying, I love to dance, I want to sing. Your intuition is saying, we can have a great time. Your intuition is saying, I want love. Your intuition is saying, gosh, let's go take that chance on that writing that book, or let's take that chance on starting that business. And then your chatter comes in. No, what if I fail? So let me explain this to you. Your mind, your brain is designed to keep you safe. It's designed, and it only has the ability to go back in time in the mental file cabinet and look at the last time you tried something like this, and it may not have been good, or it may have ended in some dangerous situations where people could judge you, and your brain is designed to protect you. That's it. Your brain is designed to protect you. It's logical. Your intuition is that spark of passion. It's that spark of desire. It's that spark of love. It's that spark of pull me forward. It's that little bit of radical. It's that lot of bit of I want to leave my fingerprint on this planet. Your brain isn't designed to have those same ideas now. Now, your intuition can kick the brain in, and the brain can start thinking of ways too, but the intuition is where it's going to start. It's in your gut. It's why when you feel something, you kind of go here. You don't go, oh, I feel so special. You don't say, I feel special here. You say, I feel it here. I feel it here. And so your job is not to turn down the doubt. Your job is to turn up the passion. It's to turn up the faith. It's to turn up the possibility. Now, still make well thought out plans. I always say the best plan is the plan made. I don't care if you have to upgrade it, you have to modify it, but if you fail to plan, then you've planned to fail. So every dream, every passion, every desire, follow it with a plan, because that's where your brain gets excited. Your brain goes, yeah, we got a plan now. Now you can believe yourself. See, you set big goals and dreams and you have desires, and then you don't achieve it, but you don't achieve it because you didn't set the plan in place. You didn't do the details, and then you stop believing you could do it. And then you do the biggest tragedy. You stop dreaming. You stop hoping. You stop stretching yourself. You stop listening to your GPS, your God placement system that says you've been put here on a divine assignment. And your assignment may change over years. Guess what? Your assignment you had 15 years ago may be very different from the assignment on your life today. Your job is to turn down the volume in your head. The volume of judgment, the volume of fear, the volume of worry, the volume of perfection. Turn down the volume in your head and turn up the volume in your intuition, in your solar plex, in that God placement system, in that heart space. Turn up the volume in that place that just says, what do I want? What? Ask yourself this tonight, today, tomorrow. What feels good to my soul? And then be still and be quiet.
Also, if you want to have more self-belief and more self-confidence, I have designed a free training program just for you, where every day for the next 254 days, I'll send you an email with an unlisted video to help you boost your confidence. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. And so I want you to build the habit of self-belief and self-confidence. It's 100% free. The link to join is in the description below.
We validate who we are by what we're doing for other people. So many times I get the question, how do I prevent failure? And I'd love for you to spend that same energy going, how could I ensure that I soar?
Cognitive dissonance is when you have literally thought about a version of yourself that you're not currently living right now.
To me, this is the road to true freedom. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to protect. I have nothing to hide. And I have nothing to defend. That your perception of me after I tell my truth is actually none of my business. My perception of me, that I go to bed as whole and complete as I woke up. Before I check how many likes I have on Facebook, that I like me first. And every other like is bonus.
There you go.
Like it. That was a long road to get to. Long road. Long road. There's so much value in what you unlearn. Sometimes the best thing you can do is unlearn some things. We're always going after learning something new because we're information junkies, because we have all these forms of information coming at us on the internet, coming at us in books, coming at us on the radio, coming at us in television, that we want to learn. But sometimes your biggest breakthrough is in what you unlearn. And then you relearn. Sometimes you have to disrupt your soil, pull your soil up, take that dry dirt that's been planted for years. I know, I've just been knowing this for years. This is what my mother taught me. This is what we've always known. You have to disrupt that soil in order to plant a new seed to grow a new fruit. Yeah? You guys got that? And so I came very comfortably to disrupt your soil. Like, that's what I came for, to disrupt your soil. Not to necessarily keep you comfortable in what you know. Stay comfortable in that. I want to disrupt you in some things that are new awareness to go, oh, wait, hold on. Or new awareness about what you've been doing based on what you've known forever that doesn't fit your future anymore. Because I can guarantee you, every single one of us who wants something different than what we're getting, we're doing something unconsciously from old patterns that doesn't even serve our future. That's when the tongue in your mouth and the tongue in your shoe are going in two totally different directions. And your job is to align them up so that you can move forward in a powerful way. Every single thing you touch is impacted by your story. As an attorney, as a teacher, as an architect, there's not one line of business that you can be in that a story, and a great story, won't elevate your outcome. Every single line of business, every single line of service that you're connected to will be impacted and ideally elevated by the level in which you're willing to tell and share your story. So let me give you some guidelines, some parameters, what I like to call the bumper rails, as if you're going bowling. You know, when I go bowling, I ask them to put the little bumper rails down so I can my ball can get down the lane. So let me set up some bumper rails for you so that you understand what makes a great story. So one is the willingness to take risk. Most people, Vishen, when they're telling a story, they don't want to take a risk. So the story has its limits on how high it'll go or how deep it'll go. And when you have that, then you're really not at that part that's going to touch my soul. So being willing to take a risk, being clear and concise with your stories. A great story is a show me story, not a tell me story. Now, this is the distinction that's the game changer for most. Most people are telling a story. They say, so let me just share with you a little bit of my story, and I'll tell you and then I'll show you. So as I was building my life, there was a time in my life that was very difficult. It was very challenging. True story. Very difficult, very challenging, very uncomfortable. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of hope, and things just looked dismal. At some point, I had to turn my life around. At some point, I made the decision that life had to get better. I'm telling you that. It's decent. You learn about me. Then if I were to show you that story, I would say 6 days a week, I had to eat beanies and weenies. I had to find money in the crevices and the corners of my couch so that I can get my son milk. There were times when my heart would beat fast just at what am I going to have tomorrow? At some point, I got sick and tired of my own story. Is this going to be my future? No, I can't handle it. Notice the difference in that second story.
Wow. I completely see that.
I just painted a picture. Same story. Mm-hmm. Now, the second one, when you show a story, it's going to require more of you. It's going to require you to find the colors. What were you thinking? What were you experiencing? What was going on in your head? Instead of telling me you look for money, turn and point. Now, this is anywhere. This is anywhere you are doing anything. I promise you, you become a great storyteller and you will captivate your audience no matter what you're doing. I've captivated investors. I've captivated students. I've captivated educators because I was willing to show the story. I call it unpacking the story, Vishen. Being willing to tell me, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? What were you seeing? Think about a story as an oral movie. And so in an oral movie, think when you're looking at a movie, the first thing they do is they identify what state of time it is. Is it futuristic? Is it in the now? Was it back in the day? You notice that based on what people are wearing, how they're talking. So paint that picture for me. Take me to that environment. Set the backdrop up for me. Show me what you're going through. Instead of saying I was angry, You can tell me you were angry, but when you say the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, I felt the fumes exiting my nose. I thought that my chest was going to pop and I was going to say something that I'd regret forever. Ooh, you just showed me you were angry. Take that extra time to unpack it. Why will most people not do that? Because it requires a level of vulnerability that we're not willing to share. Myth number 2 is that abundance is singularly focused on possessions and money. Right? It's all about what you drive, what you live in, how much money you make. When in fact, this couldn't be further from the truth. Wealth is possessions and money. Abundance is a 360 experience. Abundance is a 360 experience. True abundance is your health, because if you don't have great health, life does not feel good. Abundance is relationship, and at the end of your life, literally, you will measure the quality of your life by the quality of the relationships you had. All the other stuff will fall away. That promotion you're thinking about, you're wondering about that raise, it will fall away in the area of importance when you get to the end of your life. You will begin to look at the quality of your relationships. How are your children relating to you? How are your siblings relating to you? Do you have love in your life? You literally will start looking at relationships at a higher level as you get older. So when you mind them now, you take care of them. And I know that for a fact. I have a friend who's worth $14 billion. Billion with a B. He was just partying at my house all night long, wouldn't leave, 4 a.m, go home. And he flew in from Canada to go to my New Year's party because he loves my family connection. And he doesn't have one. He is financially wealthy. He's relationship broke. Does that make sense? Abundance is a 360 experience. It's about relationships. It's about health. It's about your spiritual groundedness. That doesn't mean you have a religious origin. It's about, can you release? Can you forgive? Can you let go? Can you be still? Do you meditate? Do you have time with yourself? That has a lot to do with the quality of your life.
We spend so much time and energy trying to prevent ourselves from falling. We spend so much energy trying to prevent a failure. We spend so much energy making sure we're safe. And if we spent 70% of that energy exploring how we can soar, exploring how we can play bigger, exploring how we can make memories that we absolutely will be excited to tell when we're 85 years old sitting in our favorite rocking chair. If we spent 40%, 50% of that same energy, how would our lives look differently? I'm not saying be reckless. I'm not saying do it without a plan. What I am saying is so many times I get the question, how do I prevent failure? And I'd love for you to spend that same energy going, how could I ensure that I soar? How can I ensure that I live the life that I want to tell people about? That I write the story that's going to be really, really good to read. So number 1 is shift your energy on what you want to create versus what you want to prevent. Because energy grows where energy goes. If you've looked at several episodes, you've probably heard me say that before. Not because I've run out of content, but because I want to keep saying it. Because repetition is not the mother and father of learning. Repetition is the mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, and uncle, and second cousin of learning. So I'm going to keep telling you this, that energy grows where energy goes. So while we want to mitigate and reduce our risk of falling, reduce our risk of failure, we want to spend our dominant energy on creating possibility and what we want to run toward. Now, I say that from lessons learned, not just as a teacher, but because for many years in the early part of my career, unbeknownst to me, unconsciously, I wasn't running toward possibility. I was trying to outrun $11.42 in the bank like I had in 1994. And so I know that once I was able to get far enough away from that experience, I started losing motivation. I stopped running as fast. I didn't know it. I didn't know why. But it's because I knew I wasn't threatened by ever seeing $11.42 again. And then all my motivation was gone. I was nervous for about a year. I was still in motion, still, generating a lot of business, a lot of buzz, but internally, I wasn't driven the same way. Until I shifted my energy and said, what am I running toward? The first answer was, I don't know, because I've been trying to outrun something so long that I wasn't looking forward, really looking for, like horizon for, like up for it. I may have been looking at the next goal for it, the next target for it, but I wasn't looking at horizon, something so big, it would take me 10 years to get there. It would take me 15 years to get there. And so number one, let's create a big, bodacious, like yummy, in 5 years, I want to be here. In 10 years, I want to have this. Let's create something to run toward that makes your knees knock a bit and it stretches you. It doesn't stress you. It stretches you.
I run into so many people all around the world who are living this duality. One, I want more, but two, I don't want to disrupt what I have. And the challenge is, in order for you to have a breakthrough to the next level, your standard, your average, and your ordinary has to be disrupted. People say, oh, Lisa, how do I do this? And I go, do this, 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 and this. I give you the steps. And the next thing they say is, that's so hard. I'm sorry. Did you think your breathtaking life would come on a merry-go-round? Did you think you're gonna do the swings and get there? You're gonna sweat. So get up, ready to sweat. Get up, ready to forgive the perceivingly unforgivable. Get up, ready to take the higher road even when the smallness in you wants to get engaged. Avoid the fight because the fight keeps you in the little you when you're committed to being the bigger version of yourself. Yeah, you're gonna have to say some things you never said and do some things you've never done so you can meet the man, the woman you've always known yourself to be. This whole piece in my book, Abundance Now, I wrote it a while ago, and it's amazing in terms of just talking about and breaking down what's the difference between a macro win and a micro win. And a micro win is that smaller goal that's you can see, it's attainable, you get that instant result. And most people are chasing the macro win all the time, and they're not looking at all the micro wins that they can feel really good about to get them to that macro result. Because if you create 5, 7, 8, 10 micro wins, guess what? Now you're in a rhythm. Now you're building some consistency. Now you like the way it feels. And then before you know it, you look up and go, whoa, there's that macro win, that huge goal that I thought was 100 miles away. It wasn't 100 miles away. It was 7, 8, 11 micro wins away.
Success is personally defined by everyone. And as you're creating success, create holistic success. My biggest successes are the things that people don't even see. It's the fact that my 14-year-old son calls me his best friend to his friends. That's bigger than any book deal that you can give me. That's bigger than sitting across from Larry King or beside Oprah, that my 14-year-old son calls me his best friend. Creating holistic success is really important.
Let me tell you, in order to have something different, you are going to have to do something different. In order to have something more, you have to do something you haven't done yet. I had to say the things I didn't want to say, do the things I didn't feel like doing to have the life I know I wanted. Period. And all I did was give instructions for here, do this bite size, do this bite size, do this bite size. Bite size, digestible, palatable pieces of what you can do. Does that sound good, you guys? And when you look up, and you don't have to have a magnificent change over 12 months, have a small change over 30 days, and then a small change over 30 days, your breakthrough will come in needlepoint moves. And you'll look up in 5 years and not recognize your life. When you look at prioritizing, it really lives in, and I'm gonna say this word, and you're probably not gonna wanna hear it, but when I tell you it's a game changer, when you master, and just for now, begin to operate inside of time management. I used to resist time management because I'm a free spirit / people would call me a rebel back in the day, meaning I didn't want to be controlled. I'm a butterfly. I wanted to soar. I wanted to be free. Well, the reality is that when you manage your time more effectively, you actually create more freedom. That was a huge aha for me. Somebody's gonna BOL right now, like breakthrough out loud. Because when you time manage, meaning, I'm gonna use better blocks of my time. Let me give you some examples for that. I'm gonna use better blocks of my time, meaning I'm only gonna go in my email 3 times a day. I go on my email about 9:30, between 9:20 and 9:40, I go on my email. I stay in my email for 30 minutes. I'll go back in my email about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I stay in my email again for about 30 minutes. I go back on my email one more time at 6 p.m. I stay in for about 30 minutes. That's it. I don't go in 19 times. I don't go in 20 times, because 3 times a day gives me adequate time to see what's in there, see what's new, and act appropriately. Otherwise, it's throwing me off. I time block my day, about 90 minutes each time block to do a task. Even if a task only takes me 30 minutes, I time block 90 minutes because I get distracted. But when you time block your day and then you schedule each day, not every day looks the same. I have a time block for everything I need to do for 7 days out the week. Can you believe that in that time, I got more things done? You have to become comfortable with your no. My grandmother says, baby, she starts every sentence with baby. Baby, if you want your yes to have more value, you need to learn how to exercise your no. See, your yes might not have its value anymore. Why? Because you give it away too much. You give it to too many people. You give it away too often. You're always overcommitting, and then you feel drained and frustrated, and you don't have gratitude in your heart because you're overcommitted. Well, that all started with a yes that should have been a no, or should have been a I'd love to, but not now. And so number one is more effective time management that has your agenda in it, that has your priorities in it. Right now, your agenda is covered with everyone else's task. I heard once, if you don't have your agenda, then you're going to work for somebody else's agenda. And so number one is your time management with your agenda. And number two is operating, utilizing, and being comfortable in a no. And not an attitude no, not like a stank no, like no. Not that, just a no, not now. No, I would love to, but my plate is full. I'm free in 90 days. Just don't make, no energy, just not now. Don't be surprised when everyone comes to you. You're great, you're amazing, you're brilliant. Look at you, you're on this channel, so you know you're smart. You want a better life, you want an abundant life. Of course you're here. Of course everyone wants you. And your priorities matter.
So when you talk about making your dash dance, point one, you gotta be willing to do it afraid. See, you might be waiting for the fear to stop. Well, Lisa, I heard this so many times. Lisa, I'm afraid, what do? Do it anyway. Lisa, I'm afraid, I don't quite know if I should move. Move anyway. I don't know if I should leap. Leap afraid. And then gather your courage on the way down. And if you don't get it before you hit, you was gonna hit anyway. I'd rather die leaping than on the edge figuring out how to get the courage to leap. Yes, yes? Yes, yes? Yes, yes. So many times we're waiting. I'm waiting to get something right. I see your hands going up. You guys know if it's your truth, you can raise your hand just like we did on day 0. You're just kind of waiting. You're waiting to get everything in order. You're waiting so that everything is in you, it's together. You're waiting to not be afraid. You're waiting to have the courage. You're waiting to have all the money. You're waiting to lose weight. See, if I waited to release my unwanted pounds before I got in front of you, Lisa Nichols would be the secret. Yes, yes? I thought, how about I just leap with my imperfection and then find my form of perfecting my imperfection while I'm soaring? How about I do that? How about you not wait to get it right? You figure out, how does it look doing it wrong? How does that look? Because your 80% of right is somebody else's 159% of what they needed. Yes, yes? And when you want to do it right and you want to wait till you're not afraid and you want to wait till you have it all together, oh, you made it about you again. See, Nelson Mandela did it. He just did it not knowing if it were right. Mahatma Gandhi just did it not knowing if it were right. Mother Teresa just did it not looking for affirmation or confirmation. Is this right? Martin Luther King did it not even knowing if it would happen before his life ended. I mean, what are you waiting on? Are you willing to do it afraid? Are you willing to do it knowing that you got so much work to do to get it better, to get it more perfect? But are you willing to do it inside your imperfection? Do you realize that in your imperfection, you're perfect for the job?
Visualization is a gift to your heart and your soul. It's a gift. Because if the idea is the seed, visualization is the fertilizer. Mm-hmm. It's the fertilizer, because when your thoughts are connected with an emotion, see, you would visualize yourself winning and you would feel all the emotion that came with that. And all you're doing now is you're not chasing a foreign emotion. You know the feeling. And now you're just doing what's necessary to get back to that feeling in real time.
Exactly.
And so what a good friend of mine, Vishen, the CEO of Mind Valley, who you know, I did a visualization with him. We were in Bali, and he said to me afterwards, "I never get emotional." I cried.
He doesn't get emotional.
Right.
He's like
Right.
super, yeah.
Well, he was like, I cried. I got emotional. He goes, I figured it out. It's visualization. A good visualization brings in emotion. He was like, that's how you do it. And so I love doing visualizations because, and it's real important in the visualization, you can't see it over there. You have to see it right here.
To feel it.
You got to feel it right here. Like I am. It's all I am. I am. I am in my dream home. I am in my dream relationship. And then unpack what that looks like. But most importantly, unpack what it feels like. And when you have that emotion in this moment, all of a sudden you stir up something that I don't think will ever go back to sleep. It'll go, okay, let's go get that. And what it really does is it sets up a state of cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is when you see something in your mind and you see yourself in a way that your behaviors are not currently leading to. And so your mind becomes disrupted and it goes, okay, can we get there?
Right, because I'm not there right now.
I'm not there right now, and that's not comfortable. Your mind wants to literally be congruent. What it thinks is what you're doing. What it thinks is what you're doing. And so when you set up a constant, and abundant thinkers like you and I, we do it unconsciously. We're constantly keeping ourselves in a state of cognitive dissonance, meaning, okay, what else? And I'm seeing Lisa over there and I'm going, okay, let me go. While being grateful for my now.
Yeah.
It's not in that I'm going to be whole and complete when I get over there. I'm whole and complete now. I just know I'm supposed to be over there. So let me do what's necessary to get over there. And let me evict any behaviors or characteristics that are stopping me and let me adopt any new ones that I need. When you ask the question, or when you look at the question, how do I create a life of prosperity when I haven't known it, when my family hasn't known it, when it's not what it's not what I was born into. You know, there are many people who were born into prosperity. I wasn't one, and you may or may not be one. But how you transform a life or create a life of prosperity is, number one, you identify what does prosperity look like to you. Define prosperity by your own terms, and don't make it a global, universal answer. You want to define prosperity in each area of your life. What does health prosperity look like for you? For me, health prosperity wasn't necessarily weighing 120 pounds. I don't know when I weighed. I think I was 10 years old when I weighed 110 pounds. I don't ever recall weighing 110 pounds as an adult. So I don't pursue a particular weight on the scale. For me, health prosperity is I want my body to be able to keep up with my life purpose. I want my body to be able to live out the things that I want to do, such as skiing and surfing and bungee jumping and whatever other crazy things I want to do. So that's health prosperity to me. What does relationship prosperity look like to you? What does family relationship prosperity look like? What does friendship relationship prosperity look like? What does romantic relationship? I know that sounds like it's really detailed, but you cannot hit a moving target. You won't ever hit a moving target. So the more detail you get, the more the target slows down and you hit it. So first, define what does prosperity look like for you in each area of your life that matters. If that area of your life isn't important, don't define prosperity there, because you don't even have a desire to have prosperity in that area because that's not important to you. So every area in your life that's important, first tell us what the target is. What's the target? And that's prosperity. Now, you have to know that you're going to outgrow that prosperity in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then you'll set another target in the area of prosperity. The things that I wanted 10 years ago are way too small for me now. The things I wanted 5 years ago, I've totally outgrown. So you're constantly resetting this target. The second thing you want to do is you want to find a buy-win date. We never put a buy-win date. We rarely put a buy-win date on the calendar. And because we don't put a buy-win date on the calendar, we think someday and one day. Well, if you can't circle someday and one day on the calendar, then you can pretty much bet it doesn't exist. How many times were you looking for a goal and you said one day, and that one day is still on its way? Listen, put a date on the calendar. I know the things that I'm doing 18 months from now. I know what I want to have done in Q2 of next year, because I said by June 30th on this date I want to have this done. So what it does is it doesn't require me to do anything now because I'm busy with something else, but I do know that I want that to happen. A buy-win date jumps you into action. The third thing, how do you create prosperity? After you've set the goal clearly, after you put a date on the calendar, grab someone that's going to hold you accountable to the thing that you say you want. Now, there are many other things to do in the middle, but these are some of the anchors that will allow you to really get there. One, you want to make sure you understand what it is. Number two, you want to make sure you understand by when do you want that thing to occur in your life. And oh, by the way, be kind to yourself. Most of the time, the majority of time we set a goal, the place that we fail ourselves every time is that not the goal doesn't fail us, but the unrealistic buy-win date. I've done it 1,000 times. I want to lose 30 pounds. I give myself 30 days. Well, I probably could, but man, I got other life. I haven't given any thought to all the other things happening in my life. So be kind to yourself with your buy-win days, but don't be lackadaisical and don't be ambiguous with someday or one day. Give yourself a date. And then the third thing is get someone that's not afraid of you. Get someone that's playing as big or bigger than you to hold you accountable to not only getting there, not only those goals, but how are you going to get there and what are the incremental milestones that you're going to show on your way there. So I'm not just focused on the end date. I want to know what are the incremental milestones. What lets me know I'm on the right track. It's like whenever someone's giving me directions, I don't care if I have GPS or not. I go, listen, what should I see? Should I see a Starbucks? Should I see a McDonald's? Should I see a Jumbo Juice? What should I see on my way there? Because I want to know that I'm on the right path. And you want to do that. You want to create milestones to let you know you're on the right path. Accountability communities, buy-win dates, and clarity. Those are the beginning steps of changing and transforming your life into a place of prosperity. But if that's step number one, if that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, then please know that 0 is mining your mindset. Because first you have to actually believe that you can have it. That will take some work at times. What you believed you can have 5 years ago, been there, done that. What you should be believing you can have 10 years from now, you might require a little work, a little stretching. So step 0 is mindset, always mindset. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the action steps that I told you. Remember, this show is not a monologue. No. This show is a dialogue. This is a conversation between you and I. I know that sounds like it's really detailed, but you cannot hit a moving target. You won't ever hit a moving target. So the more detail you get, the more the target slows down and you hit it.
When we talk about living our quest, I think that living my quest, really, if I look at it on a daily basis, it's finding my own voice. It's finding your voice. It's finding the song that only you can sing, off key or not. It's finding your rhythm. It's discovering what it feels like to walk in your shoes today. It won't look like it looked 10 years ago. Living your quest is what can I do with my life so that my life becomes infectious to someone else. Living my quest looks like how do I make my fingerprint matter so big that it lives beyond my transition day. Living your quest is how can I forgive the perceivingly unforgivable so I can love the absolute lovable. Living your quest is how do I give myself 1,000 second chances, and every time I get to 999, press reset. Yeah. Living my quest is not some ambiguous, untouchable experience. Living my quest means going back and healing the little girl in me so that the woman can be free. It's going back and embracing the little boy in you so that the man can show up and give himself permission to cry when necessary. Living your quest is not something that you can't touch. It's not something that requires a stage or lights or cameras. Living your quest is being complete and content with who you are in the dark of the night. So who you are in the middle of the day is all right. Living your quest is as simple as it is complex. Living your quest is about giving yourself permission, say permission, on a daily basis to become the next best version of yourself. Living your quest is not holding yourself hostage to old decisions, not holding yourself hostage to shame, blame, guilt, regret, and anger. Living your quest is about recognizing that every day I can be reborn to my possibility. See, living your quest is as internal and personal as it is public. Living your quest is about recognizing that you have brilliance in you and not being willing to dim your light one more day. Living your quest means not being afraid of the genius in you, even though you have doubt. Living your quest is recognizing that you get to sing your song off tune, that you can get to live in perfection while you master imperfection.
You know, I love the phrase willpower. But willpower isn't something you conjure up. Willpower isn't something you drink. Willpower isn't something you download from Google. What you're talking about is how do I make the choices that are in alignment with my highest purpose and my highest vision for myself. That's what you really want to ask. See, your life is a physical manifestation of the choices that you made up until this moment. I'm gonna say that again because that gets a little deep. And that can go over some people's head. That can hit you sometimes right between the eyes, and you gotta hear it a second time. So here it goes. Your life, right now, as it exists today, your finances, your weight, your relationships, your career, your self-esteem, your self-image, your spiritual awareness, all of that is a result of the choices that you've made up until this moment. Big and small. And just so you know, your life, the way it appears today, is not a result of a few big choices. Even though that's the thing that we look back on, we go, I shouldn't have moved out of the state. I shouldn't have got into that relationship. I shouldn't have. We look at the big things. Well, I'm here to disrupt that mindset a bit. Your life experience right now is not so much a result of your big choices, while those impact you. It's really a result of a bunch of small little choices made consistently over a long period of time. Because those are the habits and the behaviors that you've gotten into. So we can talk about willpower and how do I build willpower as if it's something that you can flex in the gym or something you can do crunches or abs or triceps and build, but it's not. The question you should ask, the answer you should be seeking is, what does it take to make my choices become in alignment with the life that I say I want to live? Now, when you say choices, it makes it really sobering, because even when you choose to sit down on yourself, it was a choice. So I ask you in this moment, what will it take you to decide to make the choice today? Don't even think about tomorrow, don't think about next week, but to make the choice today that's in alignment with your health goals. Make a choice today that's in alignment with your financial goals. It's the small things. It's the extra visit to Starbucks. It's the extra biscuit. It's the getting up early. It's 10 more crunches. It's doing squats every time you go to the bathroom. At least that's what I do. I do 10. I do 10 every time I go to the restroom. I'm already there. I'm just going to keep on going just because I want to stay in alignment with my goal. And my goal is to have a body that at least creates a double take or a triple take, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to create a body that is in alignment with my goal. I want to be able to go paintballing with my nephews and my son the way I just did recently. I want to be able to go jet skiing. So when I look at my life and my lifestyle that I want to maintain, it requires me to hike a little longer. It requires me to eat more vegetables and protein. It requires me, my choice of how I want to live requires my alignment in what I put in my body or how I stay active in my body. So when I date,
I don't do dinner dates. I'm not interested in doing dinner dates. You want to date me? Let's go on a hike. Let's go skating, ice skating, roller skating. Let's go on a walk. I want active dates in my dating experience because that's in alignment with my life's purpose. So, what are you choosing? Let's not even look at willpower. Let's look at choices. Because choice is something you can control in every single moment. And the choice you made yesterday, if it wasn't in alignment with your greatest goal and your highest purpose, okay, yesterday's yesterday. Make a new choice today. You're not ever condemned or sentenced to making the same choice over and over and over again. Every day, every moment, you have a new opportunity to make a new choice.
You know, as an entrepreneur, there's so many years where I worked the day away, the night away. But way beyond working the day and the night away, I worked memories away. I worked parts of my life away. I worked sacred moments away. I want to warn you. I want to warn you about working so hard to create an amazing future that you miss a million nows. So busy creating that future where your children or your family or your parents or your significant other will have everything they want. In the moment, you're robbing them from the one thing they need. Your time. I know that our intentions are good, and I say ours because I'm right there with you. I would grind every day in my walk-in closet. I transformed my walk-in closet into my office. I would walk my son to school, come back, put my head down, my elbows up, and I would come up for air just enough to walk to school, pick him up, bring him back, fix him a fast lunch. I go back down, and then I come back up at dinner time, and then I go back down. And I did it for year after year after year after year. And I looked up and I forgot the things I like. I forgot the excursions that I want to go on. I forgot my favorite food, because my favorite food was whatever was fastest and quickest and can get me back to work. I thought that the sacrifice was okay, that it's okay to sacrifice at this level. And while there is a necessary sacrifice, there is a necessary level of inconvenience, there also is a required and, by all means, a desired amount of memories that you want to make sure you make now. I wrote my book, Abundance Now, and I remember having conversations with the publishers and others about the now, because whether it was Abundant Life or Abundance and Prosperity or Abundance Beyond the Secret, another title, it was important for me to write Abundance Now, because there's nothing more valuable than your now. So yes, I'm going to encourage you to work hard. I'm going to encourage you to grind. But I'm going to remind you that when you're sitting in your rocking chair and there's nothing else for you to do, you have played full out. You've made all the money you're going to make. You've bought all the properties you're going to buy. You've done all the business you can do, and you've attended all the meetings there are to attend. And all that's left to do now is to sit inside your memories. You're going to want to have a lot of really great memories. We wear labels. There's a label that's, to me, there's several labels. I'm an African-American woman. I'm a single mom. I'm a CEO. I'm a daughter. There's so many labels to me, but I don't live under the label. I allow the label to exist, but it doesn't define me. And so I invite you, if you're a woman, there's so many men watching my channel. I love you. I want you to always come. You're always welcome. This is your home. But to my sisters, I invite you, don't feel like life is harder for you because you're a woman. Don't feel like you have to work harder because you're a woman. Work hard. Just work hard. I never looked at, am I working harder as a woman? Am I working harder as a Black person? Now, are there inequities? Absolutely. I am not blind to that. But like I said in the previous episode, energy grows where energy goes.
Am I going to give the inequities energy, or am I going to give the possibility energy? And I'm not saying that everything's hunky-dory and all things are right. No, there's some wrongs that really need to be corrected. But here's what I won't do. I won't wear a label and walk in a room living under that label, wondering how you're going to treat me because of that label. People used to ask, Lisa, how did you get on the main stage with people like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield and people like, they rattle off all these older white men or very successful white speakers in the industry. And they say, how'd you get on stage with them as a black woman? Or how'd you get on stage with them as a woman? And I go, I didn't get on stage with them as a woman. I got on stage with them as a badass speaker. I got on stage with them as someone who can bring value to the audience. I got on stage with them because I'm a change agent. So can you live through the results that you produce in the world? Can you allow that to define you? Like, this is the bag that you were given. A woman, a man, black, white, Indian, Asian, the religion you were born into, the economic status you grew up under. All of those things are boxes that someone else said, let's drop you in it. And then you had to choose if you're gonna stay in it. I am too big to be defined by a box, any label of any size. Why don't you join that? So don't be successful as a woman, be successful. Don't be successful as a man, be successful. Don't be loving and giving as a black person or white person or Asian person. Be loving and giving. Just be. And then become contagious for someone else to want to be that way because they crossed your path. You are only going to go as far as you think you're worthy. I can push, you can have the greatest product, but if you don't feel worthy, you will work hard to sabotage that relationship. You don't know you're doing it. Right. You don't know you're doing it. You just think these are the things I need, and you're driving that guy away. You're driving that woman away because your self-worth says they weren't going to stay forever anyway. Or self-worth around money. You have a cap that you feel like you're worthy of $1 million. You will always get to 999,000 and you will stop because your self-worth says it.
What's a good exercise or process that we can follow on a daily basis, maybe something simple, to enhance our enrichment and worthiness? Absolutely.
I did this for 6 months, every single day right after I brushed my teeth. And it's the I see you exercise. And you get in the mirror now. It's not necessarily simple because you're dealing with yourself.
Of course.
And as complicated as you are, will be the degree
of the mechanics of it are simple.
The mechanics are very simple. Yes, I appreciate that distinction. You get in the mirror and you complete 3 different sentences. You want to write this down. The first sentence, you look at yourself and you say your name. So you say Lewis, and you complete this as I'm proud that you. And find 7 different things every day to celebrate yourself for. 7 different. Each day you can do the same thing you did the day before, but each day do 7 different things to be proud of. The second sentence is going to knock you down a little bit. It's going to come from your gut. Lewis, I forgive you for. And cut the shackles to blame, shame, guilt, regret, and anger. In that sentence, you cut those 5 shackles. Not the first day, maybe not the 3rd day, but by the 21st day, by the 13th day, you'll feel some relief. So, Lewis, I forgive you for. And go back 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. Do that. Forgive you for that thing don't nobody know about but you. Go ahead and cut those shackles. Because if you can still think about it, it's still in your energy space.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd sentence is, Lewis, I commit to you that. Before you make a commitment to anybody else throughout your day, you make 7 commitments to you. So the first sentence is, I'm proud that you're celebrating yourself first. We are under-celebrated as a society. We look for acknowledgement. They interviewed 100 executives that all made over $250,000 and said, would you like a 5% raise next year, or would you rather be told thank you more often? 100% said, keep your money. I'd rather hear thank you. So we're under-celebrated. But first, celebrate you. Yeah. Be the example. When I was on Oprah, when she said, what do you do? I said, I recognize that I'm the example of how the rest of the world is supposed to treat me. And it's my job to give the world the best example of how I like to be treated. Right. So celebrate yourself, forgive yourself, cut the shackles, and then commit to yourself before you commit to anyone else. That right there,
powerful.
That right there will begin to fill your cup up to get to your saucer.
I love that.
Our desire to say yes to everyone really is less about them and more about our need to be approved, our need to be perceived loving, kind, and generous.
Now, I know that might be hard to hear, but when you don't have the ability to say no, it really isn't about the people that you're saying no to. It's about you not wanting to draw a healthy boundary, not wanting to turn someone away, not wanting to risk the fact that you might not make someone happy with you in the moment. Go underneath that and say, why am I having that challenge? The answer to that is the core of why you don't want to say no. Because I want to be liked and loved all the time. Because I don't want to experience rejection. Because I want people to see me as a giving, loving person. Because. Now, none of those are wrong. But can you already know that about yourself? And if you know you're loving, if you know you're kind, if you know you're giving, if you know that you're generous, then you can say healthy yeses when you need to say yes. And you can say a healthy no when you need to say no. My grandmother says, if you want your yes to have the most value possible, then sweetie, you need to learn how to exercise your no. Because if you keep telling everyone yes, you actually diminish the value of your yes. Because I'm not grateful that you said yes. As a matter of fact, I expected you to say yes. Why? Because you always say yes. You know, the whole fake it till you make it. Well, I don't want to fake it forever. I have no interest in faking it forever. But I do want to play like I'm courageous enough until my courage appears. I want to pretend like I'm not afraid until I'm not afraid. I want to fake like I know how to do this business. I know how to surrender to this love, and while pursuing the ability to know how to do this business. Pursue the understanding of knowing how to surrender to love. I don't think there's a place in your life that when you're playing bigger than you've played before, that you won't feel nervous, you won't feel a little afraid, and at times you won't have a sense of the imposter syndrome. What if you're not an imposter in the career you're in? You're not an imposter in the relationship. You're not an imposter in the entrepreneurial business. What if you're just learning? What if you visualize the 7-foot tall you and the 5'8", 6'1", 6'2", 5'2" version of you is still tippy-toeing to grow to that individual? You are not a victim to anything. There is not something that's been bestowed upon your family that generationally has to occur over and over and over again. There are habits, there are awareness, and there are actions. And when you change your habits, expand your awareness, and elevate your action, you can change a curse into a blessing. I get asked the question a lot, how do I jumpstart again when I've been complacent? You know, I found that I had to ask myself this question as well. For so many years, I was working hard to feed Jelani. I was working hard to give him an equal chance. I had this goal that by the time he was 18, I would have transformed our lives. And I ran hard for it, and I worked hard for it. And by the time he was 18, our lives were completely transformed and barely recognizable. And I found that I had slowed down a bit, still running, but running at about 70%. And the challenge that you have to watch out for is that your 70% could be someone else's 115%, because you are such a game changer. So you can impress a lot of people never playing full out. And you can look up and a year has passed, 3 years has passed, 5 years have passed, and you haven't played full out for a while because you've already achieved a lot by some people's standards. But there's still so much more that you can do. I want to coach you in this way. Dream a dream or set a goal that's big enough to make you get nervous. Oftentimes, if you're not setting a goal that's beyond 3 years out in front of you, there's not enough to run for. So I want you to look at your goals. Can you achieve them in a year, 2 years? I want you to set a goal for 3 years, set a goal for 5 years, and set a goal for 10 years. Yes, I said 10 years. When I did this phenomenal program called Lifebook, they had me set 10-year goals, and I was so uncomfortable. I sat there silent for a moment. I hadn't thought 10 years out about my life. But if you go out far enough, 10, 5, 3, then all of a sudden you're playing for something so much bigger. And then set a goal that makes your knees knock.
and your teeth chatter a bit. If you know how to get to your goal, you're not dreaming big enough. Now, the goal also has to be realistic. So it has to be realistic, something you can do. If you're currently making $80,000, then your goal in 3 years isn't to make $500,000 unless you have a path that's viable to get you there. That's real. The thing that's really important to remember about a goal is that if you set lofty goals that you will never hit because they're not realistic in the first place, you have to set realistic goals. Doesn't mean you're not capable, doesn't mean that you don't believe in yourself, but realistic goals. If you set a bunch of unrealistic goals and you don't hit them, every time you don't hit a goal, you lose just a little bit of hope in yourself, a little bit of faith in yourself. And then what happens is you look up 5 years, 10 years from now, and you're not dreaming anymore. You're not setting goals anymore. You're afraid to tell anyone. So set a goal that makes your knees knock and your teeth chatter a bit. Set a goal that's 3 years out in front of you. Set one that's 5 years and set one that's 10 years. As a matter of fact, set several in all those timelines. And then hook your caboose to the train of other people who are running as fast as you are. Surround yourself in a community that inspires you to want to stand on your tippy toes. They inspire you because they're doing so much. Now, they believe in values, they believe in faith, they believe in family, but they also believe in running hard, playing hard, and living big. Because if you're the biggest fish in your community, then that's okay. You just need to get a second community to play inside of as well. And so if you find yourself going, hold on, I've become complacent, walk out 15 years and go, do I want to look back in 15 years and this was the best that I did? The answer probably is no. So the first thing I said was, I'm done with this level of misery. So I didn't run toward anything first. The first thing I did was try to get as far away from chaos and scarcity and lack and procrastination and procrastinating people and making excuses, making being a single mom an excuse, or being Black an excuse, or being born in LA an excuse. Not to say those things don't impede or have an impact on our ability to move forward, but I didn't want to make any one of them my crutch as to why I stayed in my hellhole. I don't know about anyone else, but my place, I didn't know where I was going, but I knew where I was leaving. Again, you say your name first. Lisa, I commit to you that. And you make 7 different commitments to yourself. That before you go out of your door and you commit to other people, because you know, we're more apt to honor our commitment to other people than we are to honor our commitment to ourselves. We break our commitments to ourselves all the time, and yet when I give you my word, oh man, you can bet your last dime on that word and you will end up with 20 cents. But what happens when you begin to commit to yourself? You'll see that making commitments to you not only feel as good as making commitments to other people, but they feel better. Because when you show up for you, you serve everybody else from your overflow. One of the big things that I've learned is that the more I owned my own authority, the more I can honor other people's awareness, honor where they are. The more I stood in my own grace and compassion, the more I can honor the grace and compassion of others. The more I owned my no, the more grateful I was for other people's yeses. So it's just one of these things where the more you work on you, the more you turn the mirror to you versus pointing at everyone else, the more you turn the mirror to you and work on you, man, the dynamics between you and everyone else just gets richer. I became a more compassionate, more giving, more loving friend when I became more compassionate, giving, and loving to Lisa. And so when I say to you, I didn't choose the possibility first. I just stopped choosing the chaos. See, there's a couple of there's several choices you have to make, because you know your answer isn't going to come with the ceiling opening and lights beaming in and a choir showing up and like, no, that doesn't happen like that. You know, if the first thing is I was sick of smelling my own crap, I was sick of hearing my own story. I was sick of wondering about my own potential. So I realized that everything I had done had gotten me where I was. And everything I didn't know was going to get me somewhere else. You're going to play big. Say big. Big. You're going to play huge. Say huge. You're going to play ginormous. Say ginormous. But first, take baby steps. You're going to eat the elephant, but take one small bite first. Chew it good. Right? We want so much so fast. My grandmother says baby. She starts every sentence with baby. I'm sure it's because she cannot remember all of our names. She said, baby, the best things you'll ever have from grandma will never come from the microwave. They always come from the oven. And I was like, I think somehow she's trying to give me a lesson here. And I realized that the best things that you're going to create are going to take time. Build it on cement, not sinking sand. You're going to get tons and tons and tons of tools here. And you're going to want to fast forward. When you fast forward, you build it on plexiglass. You build it on styrofoam. You build it on wood. You want to build it on cement. Your dream is important enough to outlive you. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. And so I realized that you can't Google download resiliency. You can't Google download tenacity. You can't Google download forgiveness. There are some of the best qualities and characteristics that's going to take you a long way that you need to invest time in and energy in and intention in. You don't just get patience. I want patience. I'm waiting for patience. Somebody's going to piss you off tomorrow. And now you get to test if you have patience. I realized that as I wanted to develop me, I had to be willing to climb, and I wanted to get to the top, and there's no elevator to the top. I got to do my squats. I got to work on my quads and my hamstrings and my calves because I got to climb to the top. We got to climb. Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. Write that down. Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. You're creative, spell it any way you want. Now, what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is when you have literally thought about a version of yourself that you're not currently living right now. Meaning the thought that you have of yourself, your behaviors are not congruent with. So your mind becomes disrupted. Your mind says, wait a minute, you're seeing me here, but my behaviors aren't here. And when you keep yourself in a constant state, your mind begins to influence your behaviors to be congruent with your thought. Ooh. Next level. Cognitive dissonance. Abundant thinkers. That's why he went out to the ocean. That's why he's up on stage, because constantly seeing himself further than what his behaviors want to really do. And then when he does it, now I got that down. Constantly. Now is being grateful for your now. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. Being grateful for your now, but clearly seeing where you're going and not resting until you get there. If you have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you want to do, write them out. And I make columns for each one. So I don't put them all together because they're each on almost like on separate islands, which is why you feel so fragmented or overwhelmed or whatever that might be. So I make columns, and then I just put the idea at the top of the column. And I just write out everything that I have in my head about the idea until I feel like, whew, okay, I got that out. Once I have them out, then I attach a timeline to when I'm going to start it and ideally complete it. Now, let's be clear. The timeline of when you're going to start it and complete it are going to move. So don't get stressed out about the timeline. You made it up. I'm going to say that again. When you create a timeline, you made it up, which means you get to modify what you made up at any given time. But I give myself a start and a completion date. Now, here's the key thing. There are things that I give a start date to that I'm not even going to start for 2 years, for 18 months. Matter of fact, I'll do, let's say I'm in the second quarter of this year. I'll put in one of those columns, my start date is the second quarter of next year. So I know I'm going to get to it. It's called, what am I doing now? And what am I not doing now? But I'm doing it. I'm just not doing it now. Oh, man, can I tell you, don't sleep on that little nugget right there. I learned that from my coach, Susie Carter, that there's your doing now, and then there's your doing, but not now. So it's on the calendar. Everything that you're doing should be on the calendar. There's the doing now. It has a place on the calendar that you're actively in. And then there's a doing not now. because it's on the calendar. So I have some great projects I'm excited about. I don't start them for like another 10 months. And then I put all my other projects from these columns inside of these current 10 months. And so now you are doing it because you have a start date, but you're not overwhelmed with it because it's not all vying for your space and your attention in the now.
How can you stay humble, as you amass more success? How can you stay humble while owning your brilliance? I believe that there's two very separate intentions running here. Number one, own your brilliance. Don't question it. You don't have to grandize it. You don't have to highlight it. You don't have to have your brilliance and your talent spew over onto other people and minimize their greatness. When you live in your light, you don't have to promote it or diminish it. You simply live in it. I notice a lot of times when people are successful, they have a tendency to want to remind you that they are successful. They remind you in the way they speak to you. They remind you in the fact that they're always coaching you. They remind you in however the status thing that they do. To me, that's not owning your brilliance or your success. That's trying to prove it. That's trying to remind you of it. And a lot of times people want to remind you or prove to you something when they're still wondering if it's true. So number one, own your light unapologetically. Like, don't try to dim your light, nor should you try to turn it up. Just let it be. Rise the tide from who you're being. Rise the tide from your service. When I say, nor should you try to turn it up, that's not saying don't tap into the greatest version of you. That means don't artificially try to turn it up so everyone in the room knows that you're great. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say it. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to try to remind me of it. Just be it. But by the same token, don't try to hide it.
Practice active self-care. That means you're not talking about the spa that you want to go to. You're not talking about the nap that you need to take. You're not talking about the weekend you want to get away to. You're actually doing it. So I want you to take a moment to reflect and identify what rejuvenates you. Now, it's not always something huge, something big, something ginormous, but it's something that allows you to write this down, recalibrate your energy. What keeps your energy in calm? So many times we're working out of anxiety, need, or stress. Stress is the number one killer. It's the number one robber of life and joy. What do we do actively? What do you do actively that will rejuvenate you? What's available to you? I want you to write down a strategy about how and when you'll make time for self-care during this busy time.
I start every day with 25 things that I'm grateful for. And all 25 things have to cost $25 or less. So I can be grateful for my car, grateful for my home. While I can be grateful during this exercise, I'm grateful for the time that I spent cooking in the kitchen with my son this weekend. I'm grateful for the walks that my grandmother takes me on. I used to say I take her on walks. Then I realized she was educating me, that she takes me on walks. I'm grateful for the fact that I still dance with my daddy. I'm grateful for the moments my nephew climbs in my bed so we can watch our latest, greatest movie together. I'm grateful for Mustard Man and Garlic Girl in the kitchen cooking. That's my son and I. Every single thing that I find gratitude for is something that helps to make me who I am. And I gotta tell you, something happens when you live, park, and stay cemented in gratitude. I call that if your dream is the seed, then gratitude is the fertilizer. And so gratitude, constant gratitude, recognizing that you are a servant leader with a servant's heart. And when you say the word servant and ego just don't go together. Servant is to serve, but not a servant from a peasant mindset, but a servant from the place where you say, I choose to leave from behind. I choose to use my greatness and my light to elevate you. I choose to own my light, but hand it over to anyone who might need it in the moment. Oh, if you stay rooted in that, It's a daily thing. So I recommend that you find a daily regimen that keeps you steeped in gratitude, a daily regimen that has you own your greatness. Whether it's the reminder of the things I've just said, write the mantras out, post them on your mirror, and recite them each day. I live by mantras. I live by affirmations. I designed and began to own who I was as a woman because I kept reminding myself daily who I could become. And then one day I went to remind myself and it stuck. I didn't need the reminder. And so I started reminding myself of something else. And I kept doing that daily. And then one day I went to remind myself and it stuck. And so remind yourself of the woman, the man you're becoming. Write it down, write the mantra down. I am a servant leader, grateful for service. I own my brilliance unapologetically. I walk in a room and light it up with a natural glow. I share my light with others with grace and ease. You can choose any of these mantras. You can have them all. So many times people look at the habits that they have, such as procrastination, and ask, why do I procrastinate? Well, I pose that question back to you. Ask yourself, what's the benefit? Because there's a benefit that you're getting out of it. So whether you believe that last minute throws you inside of an energy source, because that's what I used to think. I used to think, oh, last minute, I'm more creative. Well, the truth is you're not more creative last minute. The truth is that when you wait till the last minute, you're increasing your stress level, you're bringing down your joy, you're eliminating peace of mind. When you understand the cost, procrastination is a word, and the challenge is that procrastination is so universally accepted. It's like fear and stress. Like, I'm so stressed out, and it's become such our norm that it's okay. Well, ask yourself the question, what's the price that I pay? Because I believe any behavior that you don't want any longer, the way that the catalyst to change is recognizing the price. Because we're high producers, we can still get it done inside of procrastinating. We can still get it done. But if you ever take a moment to stop and ask yourself and answer, what's the cost of me procrastinating? And you can do that for everything, but we're focused on procrastination now. What's the cost of me procrastinating? Let's go down that list. When you procrastinate, it costs you clear organizational time because now you're rushing. When you procrastinate, it costs you peace of mind. When you procrastinate, you're now thrown in urgency. Urgency increases your stress. Urgency is known to increase your stress. If you live in urgency, you literally are 2-3 times more likely to have a heart attack, I hear. Not confirmed, but that's what I heard. So if you live in this space of urgency all the time because of a behavior that you can modify, think about it. How are we forward moving, upwardly mobile? How are we brilliant and operating in something we can control? There's so many things that you can't control. Procrastination is something that you can control. Patience is that thing that, all of us want, but we don't know how to get the patience to get it. It's that gift and that character that's only developed in the discomfort of the act of patience itself. I'm going to share a couple of stories with you because I have had more bouts with being impatient than anything. To the point now that I think one of the characters that's the most developed in me is the character of patience. I recognize that if not now, it will happen. But my now does not mean never. My now means when it's supposed to happen, and my job is to stay in action. I was sitting in the van on my way to a good friend's house. I was sitting in the van with many other teachers from The Secret way back in 2008. And many things were happening and a lot of success was going on, but I was still struggling. So on the outside, I had notoriety. I was in The Secret. We had been on Oprah and so many things were happening. But on the inside, personally, I was still trying to figure out how to pay my car note. I was still trying to figure out how to, take care of my son while I'm on the road. I still had all these challenges that really did not make me feel like I was successful. And I felt like I couldn't work another hour of the day. I couldn't put forth any more energy. I couldn't do anything else. And I've been doing it so long. I've been grinding so long. You might know what that looks like. I was sitting in the van on my way to John Gray's house. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, a good friend of mine. And it was so many of us in the van. And I remember looking over at my friend, John Assaraf. And I said, John, why does it have to be so hard? Why is it taking so long? I feel like I've been at this forever and I don't see any results. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm about to lose faith in this dream. And John turned to me and he said something that just shifted everything for me, and I hope it does the same for you. He looked at me and he said, Lisa, you cannot plant your seeds and reap your harvest in the same season.
In that year when I was really broken, I was working at LA Unified School District. I was miserable. I was miserable because I wasn't living in my dream. I was just doing a job. And then one day I said, well, what do I need to do? I need to buy my freedom. That's what I need to do. I need to buy my freedom. Well, I don't know about buying my freedom. I don't know about having money saved up. My family didn't have money saved up. My mother used to tell me, oh, this money is burning my pocket. So I know two things about money. It's hot and we can't keep it long. We'd always have 1 week where we had all the food in the refrigerator, and then 1 week where the refrigerator was empty. Right? Come on. Some of you guys know about that. To this day, I spend so much money on groceries. You guys, oh my God, it's like I'm feeding like a family of 10. Because I'm so afraid of anybody ever being in my house and being hungry. Right? And so I wrote a check to myself. Jelani was 3. $110. I took it to the bank, Wells Fargo. I started a new account. The next check I wrote, $125. And just like the first check, I put in the memo line, funding my dream. I wasn't even clear what the dream was, but I knew there was something in my belly. Who in this room know you got something in your belly? There's something here. I'm not even clear about it. I don't know how clear you are, but I wasn't clear about it. But I knew there was a calling on my life greater than working for LA Unified School District. And no disrespect to LA Unified School District, it just wasn't my destiny. I wrote another check in 2 weeks, $146, funding my dream. Now I started mailing the checks in because I didn't want to see my balance, because I didn't want to go shopping. Because you're going to repeat what you learned, right? Until you decide to not repeat what you learned. So I mailed the check in, and then I wrote another check. And I wrote another check. And every check I wrote, I made sure it was 5% more than the first check, the previous check. I sold my Altima. I had a car note. Sold my Altima, bought a clunker because it didn't have a car note. Now I can write a bigger check, funding my dream. I moved out of my 3-bedroom, 3-bath house and moved in, became a roommate with my friend who smoked. I put towels at the base of the door so the smoke wouldn't come through the door. I was willing to be inconvenienced, are you? Yes. I'm just saying, I'm just showing you the story the charge I just gave you. I stopped getting my hair done. That was when I started going natural. I stopped going out. I stopped going out dancing. I stopped going out to dinners. My family didn't know what was going on. They thought, oh my God, it was LA. She's on drugs, but she's not losing weight, so maybe not. I don't know what's going on. I kept writing bigger checks to myself. $900. $900. I mailed it to Wells Fargo, funding my dream. $1,100. Mailed it to Wells Fargo, funding my dream. I still wasn't clear what the dream was. I just knew I had one, and it was being born through me, and I needed to give it a chance. That's all I knew. You don't have to see 2,000 feet in front of you. Just see 200 and run to the 200. Yes. You don't have to see it all. 3.5 years later, I'd written a check to myself every 2 weeks for 3.5 years. I didn't go out for 3.5 years. I didn't go dancing. I didn't get my hair done. I didn't get my nails done for 3.5 years. Are you willing to be inconvenienced for your conviction? I walk in to Wells Fargo 3.5 years later, and I said, hi, God bless you. Hi, my name is Lisa Nichols. She goes, oh my God, you're the funding my dream lady. I was like, yeah, I guess I am. And all of a sudden, all the tellers came running around.
The manager came, they're like, oh my God, okay, oh my God, we have been wondering. We all got the same question. Y'all know what the question is, right? What's your dream? I was like, I'm not sure, but I know that it includes inspiring people, having people believe in themselves again, teaching them how to get back up when they've been knocked down, having them to be willing to give themselves 1,000 second chances. And every time they get to $9.99, press reset. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but it's just going to help people. I said, I came to check my balance. I've been writing a few checks to you guys. They say, yes, you've been writing a lot. I said, I just want to check my balance. They said, you don't know your balance? I said, no, I got this really big stack of summary bank statements at home because my mama said money burns her pocket, and I don't want it to burn my pocket. I want it to pay for my freedom. I said, I just came to see what my balance was, if I had enough to fund my dream as it gets clearer. She wrote it down. Everyone's excited. She wrote it down, turned it around to me. I looked at it. I said, oh no, my name is Lisa Nichols, and my social security number, I said, that is not my money. And I am not taking that money because you're probably going to want it back. So just fix that error right now. And they looked at me. They said, you really don't think that's yours? I said, no, my family's never had $5,000 in the bank or $10,000 in the bank. That's $62,500 in the bank. They said, Miss Nichols, and everyone teared up. The manager teared up, the tellers teared up. They said, Miss Nichols, whatever your dream is, I think you can fund it now. I looked at my son, Jelani, who now is 5 or 6, and I said, Jelani, our lives are gonna be a little different now, baby. Jelani said, yeah, Mommy, can we now go to McDonald's? See, for 3 years I've been telling Jelani, I'll make you a Big Mac. Mama makes Big Macs better than McDonald's. And so it began with a $110 check. So I don't know what yours is. I don't know what your radical looks like. For some of you, your radical was coming here, right? Yes, yes? Yes. And this is the beginning. Yes, yes. This is the beginning of your radical. This is the next best step. This is the first step. And so I just stopped by to let you know you're on the right path. And as you ramp up, you're going to have questions. You're going to be afraid. I do more things afraid now than I do fearless. Because the bigger you play, the bigger your breakdowns. Every single one of my errors in the last 5 years have cost me 6 figures. Like every single one. Every single one of my errors has required me to call an attorney. Like they're just big, because I'm playing big. I'm playing big, so be willing to go to the edge. And this is where you are here. Be willing to go to the edge and not just lean over and feel the breeze and watch the people jump and watch them soar and look through the windows at all the people who are living great lives. Don't just go to the edge and feel it. Be willing to lean. Feel your heartbeat. Feel it. That lets you know you're alive. That lets you know you're okay. Fear fuels you. Fear lets you know, go get more information. Fear lets you know, stay up a little later and study. Fear lets you know, get up a little earlier. Fear lets you know, ask for help. Fear is informing you. It's not stopping you. It's just another emotion like love and compassion and gratitude. We just made it paralyze us. See, fear doesn't stop me. Fear informs me. And when you get intimately connected with the fear, I feel it. And I'm moving forward anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to love anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to invest in me anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to show up and play anyway. When you get connected with fear, it becomes your best friend. And when you stand on the edge, you feel the breeze. you feel the fear and you leap anyway.
We've been taught how to serve others, sometimes to the detriment of our own selves. Sometimes we serve others higher than we serve ourselves. At times, we feel more comfortable with saying yes to other people and less comfortable saying yes to our own self-care. So I ask you, what is that about? It's about the opportunity to fall madly in love with you. The way you love those around you, to fall madly in love with your well-being, to fall madly in love with who you are when you get up from taking care of yourself. When you rise from a nap, or you rise from a spa day, or when you leave the gym, to fall madly in love with that level of excellence. And when you do, what you'll do is give to everyone else around you a better version of you. So oftentimes we sacrifice our own well-being because we're being what I call the sacrificial martyr. And I know that was me. I would serve everybody else, and everyone else would go, oh, I just don't have any time for Lisa. Well, that's the story we tell. I actually didn't believe that I deserved to have a day off. I didn't believe that I deserved to have a spa day. I didn't believe that I deserved to take a long walk on the beach. Something in me kept saying that I hadn't done enough. I hadn't achieved enough. I hadn't gotten far enough. So it actually had little to do with the people around me that I was blaming it on or using as my out. My child, my parents, my family, my community. It had to do with Lisa, giving Lisa the chance to actually enjoy the journey while still on it.
Joan Baez says, and my coach Susie Carter first shared this with me, that Joan Baez says the antidote for despair is action. So I said, how can I be in action? I was always looking to be in action. What else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And then I go learn. And what else can I do? So to me, there's a very short line between learning and doing.
Yes.
And if you haven't done anything what you learn, why are you getting more education? You haven't even applied what you, like, I'm a hell of a coach now.
It's like people who read a book and they don't go apply it. They just want to read the next book.
Right. Hi. The book I read when I was in my deepest, darkest hour, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, changed my life because I got into radical action behind it. I was like, oh, Stephen Covey talks about attending your own funeral, doing a visionary session where you attend your own funeral, and there are 4 people to speak. What will those 4 people say about you? What kind of brother were you? What kind of friend were you? What kind of social change agent were you? What kind of neighbor were you? Man, when I did that exercise, I was like, oh, I'm a nice person, but I'm not getting they're not saying the things about me that I want to be said.
Right, yes.
I'm writing my eulogy right now, Amar. I'm writing my eulogy. I'm writing my legacy. I'm not just living for now. I'm living for the 40 years from now story being told about me. I'm living for my grandchildren's story about who great-great-great-grandma was. And when you live for a lifetime, not just your life cycle, but a lifetime, you live for the legacy. I'm writing my legacy now. You won't sweat the small stuff anymore. You won't get caught up in gossip. You won't get caught up in living inside worry. You might worry, but worry does not have permission to take up real estate in your body. Worry is chased by solution and strategy.
Yes, by action, yeah.
And I always tell people, listen, I'll have every emotion like everyone else. I'll have fear, I have doubt, I have judgment, but you cannot take up real estate in my body. There's no lease options to buy in my mind. Don't lease option buy in my mind, and don't take up real estate. I got things to do. I got changes to make, and I'm not a super hero. I'm not. I'm an ordinary woman. I'm an ordinary woman who chooses every day to make one more extraordinary decision.
Acknowledge your community. See, when you celebrate the people around you that bring you joy or that teach you some of the hardest lessons that you need to learn, the iron that sharpens the iron, the celebrators that celebrate you, those who hold the space for you and with you, pray for you, honor you, when you celebrate and lift them up, the whole tide rises. So I want you to find 6 people in your community, not out of obligation, but truly out of choice. They can be in your circle, in your family, in your business circle. And I want you to acknowledge them for the contribution that they bring to your life. What I love about acknowledgement is that when you acknowledge other people, it actually makes you happier. It's just this amazing gift of giving. And what I love is that most people would rather get an acknowledgement from you than a physical gift. That means they don't necessarily need the perfume, they don't need the sweater, they don't need the new iPhone, whatever. They want you to look at them in their eyes and say, you bring value to my life. I honor you, I celebrate you, I appreciate you. Take time to have a personal moment with them where you're just seeing them. The number one reason why people feel sad and disconnected is because they say they don't feel seen. So in this acknowledgement, I want you to look into their eyes and acknowledge them for who they are and how they make your life better. When you raise the community around you, the entire tide rises, the energy rises, the joy rises, the expectation rises. And guess what? If you make this a part of your weekly habits with them, I didn't say daily, I didn't say monthly either, and I definitely didn't say annually. But if you make this a part of your weekly, find one thing to acknowledge at least 6 people in your community for each week. One, you'll feel much more excited. But all of a sudden there's a vibration that happens because you've created it. There's this energy of let's go do this, because what gets celebrated gets repeated. You want someone to repeatedly do something wonderful and amazing in your life, you repeatedly acknowledge them from a genuine place. Man, it's so powerful when you truly marry yourself to the acknowledgement process, to the practice of acknowledgement. When you get into the practice of acknowledgement, all of a sudden people will mirror back to you. You don't acknowledge to get it back. You acknowledge because you want people to be seen. But there's just this dance that begins to occur that's absolutely delicious. Every relationship is a relay. It's like my dad's played tennis for over 40 years and I've attempted to play with him at times. And what I realize is that relationships are like a tennis match. I hit the ball to you, you hit the ball back. And a relationship where you think it's only about one person, that's not tennis, that's racquetball, right? But a relationship is a tennis match. And so if a relationship is working, it's because of the way we both are engaging, if it's truly working. And if it's not working, it's the way we both are engaging. And so there could be passive engagement and there could be active engagement. So when you're not speaking up for what you want, when you're holding and you're living with a bunch of withholds, that's engagement. That's just the way you're engaging. So every relationship has 2 parts, whether your part is active or your part is passive. Every relationship has engagement, a level of engagement, and that engagement is on different levels.
I wasn't supposed to be here by many people's standards. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't qualified to be here. See, I was that woman on government's assistance in 1994. I was that woman on WIC, Women, Infant, and Children, in 1994. I was that woman that couldn't afford to put Pampers on my son, so I wrapped him in a towel for 2 days in 1995. I'm that woman. So what would get me to being a best-selling author, times 7 books, running a multi-million-dollar company, having my company go public 2 years ago, and going from Wayfair to Wall Street? It would simply be being non-negotiable. So I just stopped by to check in if you're willing to be non-negotiable. Yes, yes. If you're willing to stop asking the world for permission to be amazing, to be brilliant, to be divine. Stop asking the world for permission and begin today to give the world notice. See, Ajit says something's gonna happen to you while you're here. And I love that. Have an expectation on your life. You didn't come here for them to do you. Okay, Ajit, I'm here, do me. No, this is your life, your opportunity. You're brilliant. See, the doors have been open and now you dance to your rhythm, sing to your song, you play to your tune. And all you need to do is pick up a little bit here and pick up a little bit there and then take radical action.
and become non-negotiable. Abundant thinkers live in non-negotiable. Average thinkers live in optional. Average thinkers live, I really would love to have a new business, but your behaviors are not congruent with what you say you would love. When you move from optional to non-negotiable, you've slid every other option off the table. I was interviewed 155 times in 5 months. And the number one question I was asked was, Lisa, how did you go from public assistance to going public? How did you go from welfare to Wall Street? How did you build a multi-million-dollar business? How did you do it? And I said, I just slid every other option off the table. Like I really did. I slid every other option off the table. There was no other option. Burn the ship. Burn the ships. Don't go back. There was no other option. I didn't even have a plan B. It's A, capital A, or baby damn A. But it's A. It's now or later, but I'm gonna get it. Once you get to that place, something happens. The universe aligns with you because you're so intentional. So many people ask me on so many different platforms, how do I find the courage to ... As if courage is something outside of you. You don't look under the pillow at home. You don't look under your bed. You don't look in the glove compartment of your car and go find courage. So let me just start off with saying you don't find courage. You cannot find courage. You choose to not allow the fear to manage your choices. So I know that sounds like that's just like want, Lisa, but I'm gonna always tell you the truth. If I told you how to find something, that means that you don't have it already. I'm not gonna tell you how to find something that's not lost. The reality is when you are more consumed with what other people's perception of you than you are with your own truth, you will always feel like you're not enough. You will always feel like you're not enough because no matter how far you come, no matter how far you go, someone will always believe that there's further that you can go, which they're true. It's truth. So how do you manage, or how do you have the courage to have transformation without getting consumed with other people's thoughts of you, perception of you? You become more committed to your own transformation than you are to managing people's perception of your life. When I talk about celebrating the journey, that has many layers to it. Celebrating the journey, one means don't wait until you've arrived somewhere to celebrate yourself. That's number one. It means that you're always going to be in pursuit of something. So don't wait till you arrive to acknowledge yourself. Don't wait till you arrive, because I still haven't arrived. Like, we don't arrive anywhere. Like, if you're waiting to arrive somewhere before you celebrate you, oh my God, it's gonna be a long, long life. Celebrating yourself along the way, inside the journey, it is as big as allowing others to celebrate your greatness. How many times do we minimize someone else's acknowledgement of us? You know, I hear it so many. I used to do it all the time too. People say, "Oh my God, you're so great." No. Like, you want them to run past the compliment. Like, you feel uncomfortable. Well, hold on. Celebrating yourself along the way, inside the journey, is allowing people to acknowledge you. I like to set quarterly goals instead of annual goals. I like to make them a bit more bite-sized. Now, I start with a big, bodacious, scary, hairy goal, right? Then I immediately release that goal and chunk it down into 4 smaller goals that are bite-sized, digestible, and palatable. I can measure them every 90 days. You want to be able to measure, write this down. You want to be able to measure your actions, your goals, and your milestones every 90 days. When you do that, it allows you to see how close on path you are. Have you exceeded your own expectation? If you have a goal that this year, I want to make an additional $45,000, or I want to make an additional $100,000, and you get to the first quarter and you're $30,000 in, you know you're on path. However, if you have the goal over the year, I want to make an additional $100,000, and you get to the end of the first quarter and you're at $10,000 in additional revenue, you know you need to do something. You know you need to ramp up, or you know that this next season, this next time, I need to make sure that I'm doubling up on my revenue to hit that goal. Versus getting to November and realizing that you're only at $35,000 towards your $100,000 additional revenue goal. Whatever your goal is, whether it's $100,000 or whether it's $10,000 or whether it's $1 million in addition, or whether it's new relationships or whether it's a social media. So many times we've become so dutiful, working and being diligent and being responsible and being on point that we forgot to do the things that bring us joy. You know, as I was developing my business, I thought I was doing the thing that I love the most, which was transforming lives and talking to teens, inspiring adults. But I forgot that I love to dance. I forgot that I love to hang out. I forgot that I love to date. I forgot about so many things. So I traded one love for all these other little things. And I was being responsible as a mom, responsible as a business owner, responsible as a daughter. And yet my norm had become filled with all the dutiful things in my life and not the things that necessarily brought me the most joy. While my family brings me great joy, my work brings me great joy, there was a part of me that was slowly dying away just because it was unfed. So let's make a list of what do you love to do? What do you love to do? And then let's set an intention that don't try to do it all the time. I think we go to the extremes. Once a week, I'm gonna do this. Or you can't go from 0 to once a week, but start from 0 from once a month. And so your norm is whatever you decide it to be. You are the designer of your destiny, and you are the author of your autobiography. And no one can write your story but you. Life isn't happening to you. You're co-creating. You are the main character. You wrote the screenplay. This is your life. And how you look at it and the lenses that you look at your life through has everything to do with how much you enjoy it or not.
So often you don't move forward because you're keeping such score from what didn't work in the past. You are holding yourself hostage to 1997 to 2005. You're holding yourself hostage in love to that past relationship that didn't work, or you're holding yourself in hostage in business to the money that you may have thought you wasted or the deal that went bad. And so one of the ways that I give myself permission on two levels. Permission to have lived a life that has some beautiful experiences and some really tangy lessons. I mean, they're spicy, they hurt, they're painful. When I give myself permission to have had that, I also give myself permission to keep leaping. Give myself permission to keep dreaming. Give myself permission to keep learning how to get it right, learning how to love the unlovable, forgive what seems to be the unforgivable, to leap again, even while I still have a bandage on my chin from the last time I fell. So I want to invite you, if you fall, catch your breath, put a bandage on it, whether you fail financially, you fail physically with health and wellness, you fail spiritually, you fail emotionally, you failed in a relationship, okay. A part of flying is understanding what the distinction between flying and falling. And the only way you understand the distinction is that you experience full life. When you experience full life, it's like this. Life isn't just flat line. It's not just like this. You make your heights feel better because you understand this was a failure. And what I mean by a failure is this taught me a lesson. This stung. Every single failure has a lesson in it. To me, a failure is a lesson wrapped in some sticky, icky paper that stung, that hurt. And so give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to play big, to be nervous, to fall down, to sit down for a minute. Just don't take up real estate in the sitting down. Don't take up real estate in the analyzing. Don't take up real estate in the preparation. You've been getting prepared for a long time for something. Trust that you'll either fly if you leap right now, or you'll fall if you leap right now. And if you fly, you'll understand what soaring feels like. And if you fall, you'll understand what getting up feels like. Either way, you're okay. That's how I play big with my knees knocking. That's how I play big, even when there's something in my consciousness reminding me of the last time I did something like this and it didn't quite work out. And I still play big because I constantly give myself permission to totally win and soar or totally fall and get up. And that way, there's nothing to truly be afraid of. Remember, this is a dialogue, not a monologue, which means we're in a dynamic conversation versus me just entertaining you. I've worked with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and trust is always at the top of the list. Coach, show me how to trust again. Coach, what happens when I've been betrayed? Coach, show me how to trust myself again. Trust is a gift, and when our trust is violated by any form, we feel like a little bit of it's been chipped away. But here's what I want to let you know. Trust is something that can be restored. And trust is something that people can earn. And trust is something that you have enough of. It always hurts my heart when I hear someone say, I don't trust. I don't trust. Because what I know is you're not trusting your future, something or someone in your future, because of something that happened in your past. And in so many ways, you're making your next pay for your ex, you're making your future pay for your past, you're making that unexperienced moment pay for that past experience. Who more deserves to be loved and honored and celebrated to full capacity than you? And if you don't stick your feet fully in, then you can't fully feel submerged in the possibility. Is there a chance that this person that you're in this relationship with now, this friendship with now, this business appointment with now, this community relationship with now, is there a chance that they may not play full out and honor you? Yes. But here's what I know you don't want to do. You don't want to have a life of saying, I played halfway, I stuck my toe in instead of jumping in. So you want to do your due diligence. One of the things I learned from my years of living, trusting, being betrayed, hurting, crying, praying, laughing, getting back up, and being committed to love again, trust again, was that any time that I felt betrayed, any time that I felt like someone didn't honor me, there was a part that I played in that experience. There was a better question that I could have asked sooner. There was a clearer line that I could have drawn way deeper in the sand. There was a notice of intuition, or there was a tap on the shoulder that the alarm clock was going off. There was something that I could have seen, said, or done, that I was a viable part of this equation. Now, I own the part that's mine and I own the part that's not mine, but how I bring that forward and how I recommend you bring it forward is ask better questions now. You're not the same person you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You're not the same person you were last year. Ask a better question and you'll get a better answer. It began to shift for me when I moved from optional to non-negotiable. When I moved from I really, really want this to hold on. This is non-negotiable. It's time for me to move from I'd like it to happen to no matter what. It has to happen. No matter what, Jelani has to have the type of opportunities that normally an African-American male child from South Central LA whose father went to prison when he was 8 months old wouldn't have. See, I had to become non-negotiable that Jelani has a breathtaking future. I had to become non-negotiable and say no matter what, that I was gonna get off government's assistance. And not only was I gonna get off government's assistance, that I was gonna create a healthy lifestyle around money, finances, and fiscal success and responsibility. I had to say no matter what around creating the life that I love, where I can travel the world and inspire people. I had to say no matter what around keeping my family intact and keeping my relationships intact while I did that. I had to say no matter what around my health and my wellness and bringing back physical prosperity to my life and to my body. Nothing happened until I went from optional to non-negotiable to no matter what. When I came to no matter what, that's when the mountain, if it was in front of me, it had to bow down, it had to move. And so I believe that you're in the exact same place, that as you move into next year, you're at a no matter what time. You're at a non-negotiable time. You're at a move every other option off the table. So many people look at fear or even doubt, but they look at fear as if it's the emotional enemy. You know, it's the enemy emotion. Like, oh, I can deal with compassion. I can deal with love. I can deal with understanding. But when fear comes, oh my God, bad thing. No, first of all, change your relationship to fear. I've said this before. Fear is not the enemy. The feeling of fear is just like any other emotion. Fear is actually informing you. Fear is telling you that you need to do something. Either do more research, get some support, get some insight, study a little more, slow down. Fear is actually feeding you. So then ask yourself the question, what do I need to do, think, or go get to dissipate this fear? Because remember, fear becomes present when you've made up something that could happen in the future. And it makes you afraid right now. Like, oh my God, I'm afraid I can get hurt in this relationship. Oh my God, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my money. You're just projecting a story that you made up. Then back into that fear and go, okay, wait, then what do I need to do to minimize the fear that I might get hurt? What do I need to do to minimize the fear that I might lose my money? What do I need to do? Of course, you can't 100% eliminate the possibility, but you can greatly reduce the chances by asking, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid that's going to happen? And then secondly, recognize that fear doesn't mean stop. People think, oh, I'm afraid, let me stop. Okay, that's a choice to stop. Fear doesn't necessarily mean stop. Fear might mean proceed with caution or proceed with more strategy. Fear doesn't, whenever I'm feeling fear, it doesn't tell me this. I don't even think now to stop with the fear. I do think to slow down, go get some help, go get some insight, voice my fear so that it's not just all in my head. Recognize that fear is going to come in when you're playing bigger than you've ever played before. I say if your knees aren't knocking and your teeth aren't chattering just a little at least, then you're not playing big enough. The bigger you play, the more you're gonna feel your knees knock and you're gonna hear your teeth chatter. And I'm always playing big. I'm always feeling my knees knock and I'm always hearing my teeth chatter. But I've created a relationship with that fear to go, hold on. Let's say fear's right here. Fear, what are you telling me? Because fear really is, it's a story. It's something you think could happen. And could it happen? Yeah. But could it not happen? Yeah. So don't try to outrun fear. Don't try to outrun doubt. And definitely don't wait until doubt and fear are gone before you move. Find out what doubt and fear needs to dissipate into the nothingness that it always was. What does it need? And then understand that action brings clarity. So the more you move forward, the more action you're in, the more clarity you get because action breeds clarity. And clarity comes with action. So many times you're sitting on the sideline waiting to get completely clear before you take any action. And clarity is waiting for you to get in action to create clarity. So be willing. Be willing to play full out a little nervous. I remember there was a time in my life when all I wanted was for people to accept me. But I realized that I needed them to accept me and love me because I wasn't really accepting Lisa. I wasn't really loving Lisa to my fullest. So while today I don't invite you to not care if people reject you, I am inviting you to, if you fully love and show up for you first, then you're less impacted, you're less disrupted when someone doesn't embrace you the way you believe you should be embraced. See, I realize that we are iron for others, iron sharpens iron. We're also triggers for others. There's 1,000 reasons why someone might reject you. My grandmother says, man's rejection is God's protection. So not everyone that's in your space should be in your space. And sometimes people have to opt out on your behalf to help you out. How many times have you been in a friendship or relationship and it ended? And maybe not immediately after it ended, but somewhere in the next 30, 60, 90 days, a year, maybe 2 years, you took a deep breath. actually feel more relief that that relationship has transitioned. Whether it's a relationship with a job, a friend, an ex, whatever. So while we don't want to have rejection in our life, I say all rejection isn't bad. And sometimes it's not rejection. It's simply transition. It's simply completion. You know, I realized that I wanted everyone to love me. But when I began to love Lisa, I stopped having to manage or having the desire to manage how other people like me. Your job is to wake up each day and like you. Now, I get kicked out of college. I got kicked out of college my second year because I didn't want to continue to run track. I took my team undefeated the first year.
Wow.
And they went from not having won a track meet in 2 years at all to going undefeated in 1 year.
If you could attribute what allowed you to lead the team to do that in one or two insights, what would it be?
I had unwavering confidence.
Did you cultivate that, or was it natural? Was it cultivated at home, or was it personally cultivated?
My dad and my mom, they I don't know if it was brainwashed or encouraged me. I could do anything.
Yeah.
Like opposition didn't scare me. It's never have scared me. Like, I don't look at how big the mountain is if I can climb it. I go, are we gonna climb it? And what do we need to climb that size mountain? You don't measure if I can do something based on the size of the opposition. You decide we're gonna do it and then decide what to do for that particular scenario.
I made the best decision I could based on what I knew in that moment. And when I know more, I'll do more. When I know better, I do better. And I'm going to love me in every moment. When I look back at the decisions I made 10 years ago, some of the people I dated, some of the money I spent and what I spent money on, some of the places I went, I go, what was I thinking? And the answer is I made decisions based on what I knew at that time. I'm outside now and you can hear the gardeners in the background. They're cutting away trees. They're cutting away dead limbs. They're cutting away old grass. They're mining the weeds and pulling things out, just like we should do in our lives. And some of those things that we should take away are the fear of people's thoughts of us and what those thoughts are going to show up as in our lives. Listen, what I know, I love the sound of all the machinery in the background because that reminds me to trim away, to cut away, allows a space for new things to grow. So sometimes you have to cut away the need to be liked by everybody, the need to manage everyone else's perceptions and thoughts of you. You have to cut it away, like those gardeners are cutting away dead leaves, like those gardeners are cutting away the weeds, the things that grow in between the beautiful grass, in between the beautiful flowers. There are things growing up inside. That's what's happening in the middle of your transformation. Other people's thoughts, other people's inconvenience. People want to hold you hostage to the person they've always known you to be. What are these new thoughts you have? What are these new things you're doing? We don't know you this way. Go back to the old you. No. Be more committed to the you that you're becoming than you are to the you that they're familiar with. Over the years, I've had to learn how to disconnect myself from people, how to pull away, how to move on without what I call Benihana-ing people. Now, I don't know if you remember, but if you ever go to a Benihana restaurant, they have those sharp knives and they kind of go, and you don't even know that the zucchini is like all diced up until they move it and then everything is cut apart. Well, I used to have a habit of like cutting people off so well, so fast that I felt like I Benihana them. Like they didn't know they were like all sliced and diced until they went to walk away and their head fell off and then their arms fell off. And over the years, I had to learn, how do I complete? By the way, I would say, don't break up with people. Don't break away from people. Don't stop being their friends. A better mindset is recognize when the relationship is just complete. Now, I say complete with me. When I say complete, that means the relationship has had every experience that it needs to have. You've done everything you need to do, and it's just complete. So you don't have to make people wrong. That was a big lesson for me because we're taught that in order for relationships to end, someone's brains need to be splattered on the ceiling. Well, the older, wiser me recognizes that I can end relationships from people who I've outgrown, or people who might be toxic, or people who are just not a fit for me. and also leave their dignity intact. Key word. I want you to write that down, type that in chat, because there is a way that you can complete with people. Notice I'm using these key words with you. You can complete with people, meaning every experience that we need to have, we've had. And now I'm complete. That you can do that and leave their dignity intact. You can say this relationship has run its course. You don't have to outline everything that's not working, because when we outline things that are not working, all we're doing is making people wrong. So let me just say, the way you complete a relationship is to first check your ego, because your ego, or ladies, your she-go, they will get in the way, and what you want to do is point. I'm done with you because of this, and this. And we all know when you point one finger over there, the three fingers point back at you. We've all heard it.
I begin to become an explorer of what I don't know. I want to read books I'd never read. I want to hang around people that I'd never hang around. I want to know what they know. I want to have discussions about things I'd never talked about. I wanted to feed my brain something that my brain didn't know, so that my brain can tell my body to do something it never done. So then when my brain feeds my body and my body feeds my life, then I begin to have an experience that I'd never had before. It wasn't rocket science. People want to make success rocket science. Success is not rocket science. You go and find the thing that you don't know, learn the thing you don't know, and do the thing you haven't been doing, and get the life you say you want. All I wanted was unfamiliar. But you have to understand that most people don't invite in unfamiliar, because people are more committed. People are more committed to a familiar discomfort than they are to an unfamiliar new possibility. The key words are familiar and unfamiliar. See, we want to have a new experience while having some of the same behaviors because they're familiar to us.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
They're familiar. Some of them not even comfortable. People in relationships are not even comfortable.
True.
It's just familiar. People are still at jobs that aren't even comfortable.
Yeah.
They're just familiar. So that's the crazy, is that we are more committed to a familiar discomfort than we are to an unfamiliar new possibility, because of the familiarity, not even the comfort. I became comfortable living in the discomfort of the unknown.
Instead of making big macro goals, those big bodacious goals, make some micro goals, smaller goals. I don't make an annual goal. I make quarterly goals. I make monthly goals. And each quarter and each month, the goal that I hit, I stop and celebrate myself. Now, I celebrate myself by making me something really good and inviting one person over or three people over and say, I'm celebrating myself for small micro wins. Taking myself out for a nice night, something to eat, or just sharing with a friend. Celebrating yourself along the journey is also not keeping your wins a secret. I used to keep my victories a secret. I would get an award, or I would close a deal, or I would get a new contract, or I would whatever. And no one knew, because I didn't want to brag. Well, what if I know I'm not a bragger? Like, what if you know you're not a bragger? Can you not be someone who brags, but is someone who wants to celebrate yourself along the journey? We're all like little 3-year-old kids. What gets celebrated gets repeated. And if you want to repeat successful behaviors, then you got to celebrate them, because what's celebrated gets repeated. We're just kids. Unconsciously, we have a tendency to do things to influence someone's perception of us. And really what we're trying to do is change or control. That word again. We're trying to control their perception of us, because we feel like they're being judging. So we get into the proving business. I said in another Lisa Nichols episode that you have nothing to prove, nothing to protect, nothing to hide, and nothing to defend. That's not just a mouthful of words. That is literally a lifetime of disconnecting from the need to prove to someone you're smart enough, you're kind enough, you're loving enough, you're worthy enough, you're enough, ... Right? And I remember for years, because I didn't graduate from college, I was always trying to prove I was smart enough. Always. And then I had a son without being married. So then I wanted to prove that I was godly enough. I was always trying to prove something until it just became so exhausting. What I was doing was trying to control people's judgment of me. Procrastination is really putting off your own desires. Procrastination is putting yourself last. Procrastination shows up when we are so used to putting everyone else in front of us, or we're actually afraid to do that thing that we say we want to do because we're not sure if we can handle the outcome. But the whole attachment to procrastination and self-love, what you can do tomorrow, why not do today? What you can do today, why not do right now? You know, one of my team members talked about reading a book called Touch It Once, which means if you can touch it once and get it done, how much more productive will you be? What happens when you feel like you're always being judged? Number one is divorce yourself from trying to manage someone's judgment of you. I know that sounds backwards because we want to go over there and change them. I know. Well, when I figure that one out, you'll be the first to know. But in the meantime, how can you separate yourself, divorce, I know it's a strong word, but that's the separation, from the need to monitor other people's judgment of you? Let me tell you what that answer is. You go over to self-awareness. You go over to recognizing I am whole. I am smart enough. I am wise enough. I am kind enough, not from a bragging way, not from a self-righteous way, from the most humble way possible. Can you wake up tomorrow morning and be content with who you are, irregardless of anyone's opinion of you once you leave the house, or maybe the person next to you, or the people downstairs, the people in your same house? Can you wake up tomorrow standing and living in the statement and the knowing, I am enough? And then leave everyone's opinion to them. We train people how to treat us. In 2007, when I was on the Oprah show, it was the thing that came up and out of me. And she was like, yes. It was that thing that said, we train people how to treat us. Like they're looking at what we're saying yes to and what we're co-signing on. And if we're the yes woman or the yes man all the time, then one, our yes isn't as valuable because everyone automatically expects it because we give it away all the time. And two, they're going to keep asking because they know they're going to get yes. And if you're a producer and deliverer, you're the one I'm going to come to all the time because you're a producer and deliverer. You're going to get the job done, even to the detriment of your own joy, even to the detriment of your own happiness. But again, you train people how to treat you. But the good news about training someone is that they can be retrained.
Now, did you consciously sit down and say, I want to manifest inspiring millions of people, making millions of dollars? Was it a conscious thing? Were there moments where you sat there when you weren't living in that reality, where you said, you know what, I'm going to decide, I'm going to figure it out. I might not know how, I might not know where or what, but I'm going to commit to it and make it a reality. I mean, talk to me at the core of your experience.
Right. So I love how you say make millions of dollars. I said I want to inspire people and I want to be able to pay my bills. That was initially.
That was a big dream.
I want to run out a month before I run out of money. Big. I want to have enough. That like you can't think about having abundance until you literally give yourself permission to have enough.
Yeah, get past scarcity.
So I want to have enough to dream. And so my first, I think I have a ministry mindset. My first, I just want to help people. I want to help people and I want to be rewarded for my efforts, right? And then once I got past that, I said, okay, I want more. I want to generate millions. I want to serve millions, inspire millions, and generate millions. I think I deserve all of that. But that had to do with my self-worth.
Right.
I had to feel worthy to touch millions. And I had to feel worthy to touch millions. I had to feel worthy of both. And so that was personal development, which is why I live and I stay in personal development. I teach personal development. I teach wealth development, I teach business development, and I teach personal development. Because you have to have both. Practice active, yes, I'm gonna say it again, underline, circle active, practice active self-care. That's where you identified what rejuvenates you and made plans to make time for self-care during the busy season. So you made a list of what you know rejuvenates your soul, your mind, your body, your spirit, from walking on the beach to reading a book to taking downtime, free things and retreats or a spa, whatever it is that rejuvenates your soul, to make a list of it and then to make plans, active self-care, to do those things during your busy season. If you find that the relationships around you have toxic outcomes, then I want you to look at where's the breakdown. Is the breakdown in communication? Is the breakdown in how you communicate, the words you're using? Is the breakdown in who you choose to be around? Is the breakdown in the engagement of what you're talking about? What I've learned is that if you're not talking about things that are high enough and big enough, things that are inspiring enough, you will slip into the smallness every single time. If you don't choose an intentionally high, evolving, encouraging conversation, you will slip into the cracks. You will slip into those crevices of smallness and petty. And until you get people trained that you're going to live up here without telling them, I need you to know, it's not an announcement. It's a way of being. It's a what do you choose to participate in. It's a stepping over your desire to hear smallness. Gossip, negative feedback. It's when someone is engaging in negative feedback about someone else, the fact that you didn't add anything to the conversation doesn't let you off the hook. Did you stop the conversation? Did you say, hold on, I don't want to engage in speaking negatively of them at all. Why don't you have a conversation with them? It's course correcting behaviors in your space at the risk of losing the relationship. But what you basically do is you say, here's where I play. Here is where I live. I'm not visiting this high road of integrity. I'm not visiting this high road of conscious thinking and awareness and respect and humility and honoring the dignity in people. I don't visit this place. I live here. I don't visit this place. I live here. And in a loving way, anyone that's engaging with you has two choices. They either engage with you here or they choose to engage with someone else. Now, if you find that you're going down to be in the relationship, or you're going down and you're the person taking the relationship down because you're in a moment of anger, or you're in a moment of resentment, or you're in a moment of hurt, then you're not living in your highest integrity. You just visit every now and again when you come to this channel. Uh-oh, I see my Shantae coming out right now. Shantae is my middle name. It's what I do when I start getting real edgy because I really want you to get it. So you need to make a decision on where you choose to reside. And then you don't leave your conscious neighborhood to go visit other people's neighborhood if it's not as high as yours. People will rise to the occasion, or they'll choose not to rise, and they'll pick other people to be with and hang with. And I know that sounds easier said than done, because some of the people who are playing at a lower level might be in family. It might be, and that's fine too. You can love people. It doesn't mean you have to spend tons and tons and tons of time if that time costs you something. Spend as much time as you can. Spend as much time as serves you. Spend as much time as they will allow you to spend. But never leave this place. Even if being with them causes you to allow them to be where they are, you don't have to engage in that. So the bottom line, and supporting you to either recognize, are you the toxic element, or are you surrounding yourself in toxic element, is to make a commitment where you live. Where am I living? And first own where you're currently living, because if you own it, you might go, you know what, I do slip into that small place. Okay, own it. That's conscious awareness. That's powerful. Own it. And then go, where do I want to be? And then what's the distance between here and there? And what do I have to do to get there? What do I have to say no to? What do I have to participate in? What do I have to ask forgiveness for? What do I have to clean up? What relationships require cleaning up? And then what declarations must I make? Celebrate your wins. This is where I invited you to make a list of the 10 things that you have to celebrate about this past year. Now, if you're just joining me, then it's not too late. Make a list. You've done many more than 10 things, but make a list of 10 things that you have to celebrate about over this past year. And they can cover any area, from family to finances to business to health and wellness to relationships to body to fitness, anything. So let me first explain to you what forgiveness isn't. Because most people won't forgive because they have an incorrect understanding of what forgiveness is. So forgiveness is not pardoning someone's behavior. It's not excusing someone's behavior. Forgiveness isn't admitting that you were wrong. Forgiveness isn't saying what was done to me is okay. Forgiveness isn't any of those things. I'll try says I'll make a feeble attempt. I will is absolute, non-negotiable, no matter what. There's a certain energy that goes forth when you say I'll try, and there's a different energy that goes forth when you say I will. When you make the declaration of I will, that says mountain, if you are there, you must move. I'll try says I hope I got enough energy to make it up or around the mountain, and if not, I'm gonna sit at the bottom of the hill. When you fail to make a plan, okay, well, hold on. This might hit you between the eyes. You know I love you. But when you fail to make a clear, concrete plan that has goals and milestones, meaning they're smaller goals that you can hit to get to the bigger goal, and has a by-when date, not in February, not in August, but August 15th by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, when I set a goal, I even want to know the time zone I'm gonna have it done by. Clarity. When you fail to make a plan with clear distinction, when you fail to make a clear plan, you have clearly planned to fail. I'll say it again. When you fail to make a clear plan, then you've clearly planned to fail. I know that hits you hard. I've done it many a times. I have clearly planned to fail many a times because I had an idea and it was just in my unconscious. I didn't know. Now I want to bring to you what I know to you so you know it. I want you to make a clear plan. When you create a clear plan, then you're clearly planning to succeed. Your belief systems were handed to you by your parents and by your grandparents, and they were pretty much embedded by the time you were 10 years old. So there's some beliefs that you didn't even have a chance to develop for your own. You just are living them out.
You inherited them.
You inherit the belief system and didn't unconsciously inherit them. And so the good news is you get to choose to the belief systems you like, and then you get to divorce. I'm going to say divorce because that's a strong word. We all know what separation looks like when you say divorce. You get to divorce from a belief system that doesn't serve you any longer. A belief system that says money is the root of all evil, maybe, or a belief system that says only rich people have money, or all rich people are crooks, or my belief system used to be that wealthy people aren't spiritual. That if I'm wealthy, I can't be a spiritual person.
You have to pick God or money.
One or the other. I got to pick my faith or my finances. I can't have both. That's a belief system, and I invite you to divorce it because it's not the case. I have both, and I live in both quite well. I use my money for good in the world. And the more money you have, the more good you'll do if you're a good person. So money makes you more of who you are. So you will only be more of who you are with money. When we talk about setting healthy boundaries, again, and I know it sounds as if I keep going back to the same thing, but setting healthy boundaries is not about you keeping other people out. If someone crosses your line in the sand, it's because you never made your line deep enough. No one can ever go further with you than you've given them permission to go. So as hard and as difficult as it is to hear, because this was hard for me to hear when I had to admit it to myself, that the way people treated me was based on how I trained them to treat me. So I have to say it to you. You've trained people to treat you the way they're treating you. So if people are crossing your boundaries because they didn't know it was there. If people call you at odd hours of night, it's because you keep answering. If people ask you to do beyond what you're able to do, it's because you keep saying yes. If people don't ever think you need rest, it's because you act like you don't need rest. I know this is not probably what you want to hear, but I signed up and you signed up in this relationship to give you what you need to hear, not necessarily what's always easy to hear. And I'm only telling you what I needed to hear myself. I'm only telling you the lesson that I had to learn, that we train people how to treat us. I have this program where I look at your money blueprint and I help you look at your money blueprint. And I ask you questions. How was money in your household? Was it the source of argument, the source of contention and divisiveness? Because if so, you don't want money to divide you and your family. So you might not want to have money around, or you want too much because you don't want to be divided.
You don't want to be judged,
right?
Or whatever.
Or did it keep your parents away? Mm-hmm. Like, what was your relationship to money as a child? Because that's fueling you. That has an unconscious influence over you now.
A filter of how you see everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to bring from the unconscious to the conscious. You might not be listening to it, but you definitely don't want it to have any unconscious power over you. So that's number one. Be aware of your money blueprint. How is money related to in your community? How is it related to in your house? What did you think about money? How is your faith attached to it? I used to think that literally in order to be like Sister Brown, who was like the most godly woman in my church when I was a teenager, she was amazing. But we also had fundraisers for Sister Brown that I could not have
$1 million in my bank account and be Sister Brown.
Yeah.
So I had to it took me years to do that.
Setting quarterly goals, to recognize that goals that are going to be hit are goals that are bite-sized, digestible, and palatable, and you can measure them every 90 days. We together discovered that 90-day goals allows us to get to annual goals and 2-year goals and 5-year goals, but 90-day goals allows you to have bite-sized, palatable, digestible goals that could be measured and or adjusted every 90 days. Oh my God, I love this question. I don't think I've ever been asked this question before. I never had the opportunity to explain it. Being the best version of you. First of all, don't think of it holistic. I want you to break it down to different parts of your life. Because when you are committed to being the best version of you, which in summary, it's the you that you're so incredibly proud of holistically. It's a 360 approach. It says, I'm not perfect. So best does not mean the perfect version of you. Because I think perfection and balance are two illusions that are designed to help you keep chasing something that's not even attainable. So perfect is not attainable and balance is not attainable. So it's perfectly managing my imperfection and releasing balance and having harmony, number one. But the best version of you is really saying that in each area of my life, I'm in movement. In each area of my life, I'm in evolution. In each area of my life, I'm active. I am actively participating in an upwardly mobile way in this area of my life, times every area of my life. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're always where you want to be, but it does mean that you're being responsible, you're being active, and you're being proactive. Finances, that you're looking at your numbers. Just this morning, I ran my credit score again. I want to see what's on it. I want to be actively participating in my financial growth. I looked at my savings. I looked at my life insurance. I just looked at my long-term plan. Not necessarily because I want to buy another house or I want to buy a car. I just want to be on top of it. I want to be responsible for it. And then health and wellness. Just yesterday, I was talking to Matt and going, Matt, it's time for us to do another health and wellness campaign. I don't necessarily want to do it. And it slightly to moderately scares me a bit when I'm bringing my fitness into a public conversation. But I know the responsible me, the best version of Lisa, is saying, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to my fitness goals. Hold me accountable to my total wellness goals. And then last week, I was just sitting with someone saying, you know what? I need to go down the list of all the checkups that I've had. I need to make sure I'm not missing anything. Relationships. I just said to a girlfriend yesterday, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to not running. I realize that I run well and I run smoothly. I run like a gazelle sometimes when it comes to relationships. It doesn't even look like I'm running because I'm so busy. So I asked someone who knows me, who knows the love that I want, who knows my sexy excuses. I need you to hold me accountable. When I say this, I want you to question it. And so while there's so much growth in every area of my life, I'm being the best version that I know to be because I'm active in every single area. I'm not saying I'm being the best or I am the best. Please don't get me wrong with that. I'm just saying to be the best version of myself. So when you look at being the best version of yourself, look at each part of your life and go, what am I actively doing? Where you feel like I'm in the game in this area. I'm not resigned and I'm not praying for it to go right. Or I'm not in resignation and in complaint about it. I'm not a victim to that relationship. I'm not a victim to my finances. I'm not a victim to the relationships in my family. I'm an active part of creating what's occurring. And it can always get better, but I'm an active part. That's being the best version of you. And waking up each morning and saying, I like me today. I got many things I can work on, but I like me today. Before you ever go out on Facebook or any other social media platform to check to see if anyone else like you, your job is to like you first. And every other like is bonus. That's stepping into the best version of you. Setting long-term goals that make your knees knock a little bit and make your teeth chatter a little bit. Those goals that you don't know exactly how you're going to get it done, but it's something that you want to get done. It stretches you, but it doesn't stress you. Your goals are supposed to stretch you, not stress you. Those things, that combination. And when you live in that capacity and you focus and you operate in that one, that's when you're living and being the best version of you. So when you look at being your own rescue, what does that look like? Being your own rescue comes from so many different areas. I've always taught that we need to separate our life into categories and manage your whole life in categories. The health and wellness category. What does being your own rescue look like in health and wellness? For me, it was pretty radical. For me, it was all the way from not only getting more physically fit, but it was going to the doctor and asking for medical help. It was saying something's happening in my body and I don't know what. It was no longer ignoring what was happening. What does being your own rescue look like in your finances? For me, it was me writing myself a check the way I wrote SD&G and the way I wrote the electricity bill and the way I wrote my rent check way back 20 years ago. It was me writing a check to my dream and putting in the subject line, funding my dream. That was being my own rescue as well. What does being your own rescue look like in a relationship? Does it look like just speaking up and asking for what you need? Or does it look like telling someone, I love you more often? Or thank you more often? Or please accept my apology for not showing up for you. What does being your own rescue look like in the different categories? And then what does action look like to be that rescue? Because when you can be your own rescue, you actually are your own superhero. You actually are your own best friend. You actually become everything you need for you. And then you can serve everyone else from your overflow. If you don't treat money right, and you're not responsible with money, you will repel money because you're not a good steward of it. And so until I became a better steward of money, and I'm still growing in that area, and money and I would keep giving it away until it was all gone because my mindset said it all had to be gone. There's never going to be extra.
Yeah.
My grandmother would make 10 dimes go in 20 different directions. Who was I to have 20 dimes and only 10 directions needed?
Yes.
Right? Again, mindset.
Yes.
Right? I love to go back and share some of my favorite memories with you, my fondest. And what I realized, they're actually my most moving memories. One happened over 12 years ago. I was in Toronto, Canada with Margaret. And this gentleman walked up to me, standing about 6'2", Caucasian man in his mid-40s. And he looked at me and he goes, Lisa, I have a problem with you. I said, you do? And my heart started to beat. I'm like, oh my God, someone doesn't like me. What did I say wrong in their eyes? And how is this gonna play out? And he goes, I have a problem. I really have a problem. And I said, okay, how can I help you? He said, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I'm fine not believing in God. I'm comfortable. I prefer not to believe in God. I don't believe that there's a God. And I said, okay, what's your problem? He said, my problem is I love you. I love everything about you. I love the energy you come with. I love the way you speak. I love what I feel when I'm listening to you talk. He said, and you keep referring to this God as your source. And I don't believe in God. So that's my problem. And I said, sir, I'm sorry. I'm not sure where your problem lies. I said, if you don't believe in God, you have that right. If you love me, I'm excited because you can feel that I love you too. And he looked at me and he goes, so let me get this straight. This is not the part where you try to convert me or try to tell me how wrong I am, or you try to explain to me about your God so that I can begin to believe like you believe. This is not that part. You're not going to do that? And I looked up at him. I said, why would I do that? You're committed to whatever you believe in. My job is to honor your belief system. And he goes, see, you're doing that thing again that's making me love you more. That's my problem. But I know you believe in God. I said, that's not a problem. Why don't you keep believing in me and loving me? I'll keep believing in God and loving God, and we'll keep having this great experience. After I said that, he just grabbed me and he hugged me and he held me. And I knew somehow he was holding on to possibility. That's what I choose to tell myself. He was holding on to the love that he could feel from me, the palatable, non-judgmental, non-persecuting love. And in that moment, I couldn't feel more joy. As I held that man, I couldn't feel more joy. I couldn't feel more happiness that this is what ministry is about. This is what touching souls is about, is to love the person who thinks that you might not love them because their belief system. It was just so beautiful. The moment was so beautiful. I mean, he held me and then he drew back and looked at me and he said, "You're the real deal." And I looked up at him and I said, "So are you." And we said our goodbyes. I never saw him again. Margaret and I went up to the room, our hotel room, that night, and replaying what happened, we both just started to bawl, just cry. And I said to Margaret, "Margaret, this is marketplace ministry, disguised as a business. I'm not in the converting business. I don't need to convert anybody. You're exactly where you choose to be. But I am in the loving business. My job is to love you where you are." And that beautiful gentleman, that day, he reminded me and Margaret, I believe, what unconditional love could feel like.
Now, I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch something and get motivated and just get inspired, you have a 35% chance of actually following through. But when you get motivated and then you actually create an action plan for what you're going to do, you increase it from 35% to 91% chance of you actually following through. And when you share your plan publicly, that jumps to 95% chance of following through. So I want that for you. I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
Over my career, and I've been in business over 20 years now, people from all around the world, students at every level, whether they are newly into launching their business or they've been in business themselves for 10, 15 years, ask the question, how do I overcome fear? I'm about to disrupt you completely because I am not going to give you a strategy to overcome fear. Because if I even attempt to give you a strategy, and I know we're always looking at stuff, reading things, how to overcome fears. There are probably 10 steps to overcoming fear somewhere out there. They weren't written by me. And I could never write it. Because I don't think you wait to overcome fear to live the life of your dreams or the one that you deserve or to blow your own mind. I personally, and I'm teaching you from my life lessons, from what I've studied, what I've applied, what I've implemented, what I've fallen from, what I've soared from, what I've gotten up from. And I don't think you focus on learning how to overcome fear, though there are things that helps to mitigate your fear. Information mitigates fear. Training and developing your skill set mitigates fear. I teach speaking. I love teaching people how to speak powerfully. Not to speak to be great, but to speak to be unforgettable. Whether you're a speaker or whether you're a manager, whether you're in retails or in network marketing, whatever it is, when you open your mouth, you want to be unforgettable. And people always say, "Lisa, how do I overcome the fear of speaking?" I say, let's not focus on the fear of speaking because energy grows where energy goes. So let's not focus on overcoming fear. Let's focus on building a muscle that naturally dissolves fear. And that muscle is the muscle of information, the muscle of education, and the muscle of skill set. So if you know more and then you develop the skill set, you won't be as afraid to do that thing that you're talking about. But the other side to that, now I'm going to disrupt you a bit. So the first part, not so disruptive. That means go get it more information, give fear what fear needs to reduce itself, meaning information skill set. But this other part that I'm going to tell you, this might be disruptive. How about you not try to mitigate, resolve, or get past or overcome, whatever you want to call it? How about you not try to do that with fear? How about you allow the fear to sit with you? You just commit to keep moving, even with the fear. So many times in my life and in my career, I was afraid. The difference between me and most is that I still move forward with the fear. Fear does not have a past to stop you. Fear does not have a past to stop you. First of all, let me just tell you this. Just like compassion, just like love, just like respect, just like any other feeling you feel for someone, fear is just a feeling. We just give fear more power. We say, when compassion comes, I hug, I love. When understanding comes, when joy comes, when humor comes, I laugh. But when fear comes, I get to stop. What if you change the meaning to that? Ooh, just stick with me right here. What if you change your dance with fear? What if you tell fear, you're welcome in my life because you're gonna come. Can't keep you away.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.